Wow, you're a moron.
You're listening to the Wil and Dave Podcast.
Here we go!
We're back on an actual... What the hell's happened to the music? It stopped!
What'd you do?
I don't know!
That was quick.
Yeah. Okay, should we start again?
Sure.
It's S-E-X. I don't know how they fucking spell in England, but it's S-E-X, not L-A-X. I don't know what you call it over there.
Take two. We're back on Fridays and things are already fucked up. Hi kids, welcome to the Wil and Dave show. We've got ourselves Andrew King, we have ourselves Joshua Jim. No Paul Jenkins, however. It seems to be he wants to do one episode, then fuck off for about a month, then he'll come back in a month's time and cry. But Wilvinson and Dave Judson, we're going to split today's episode into two 1 hour segments. First hour, we're going to talk about, real cars that drive on real tracks. The second hour, we're going to talk about fake cars that drive on virtual tracks.
Football!
Football? Oh, come on. I'm already drinking. I don't need to play the Tim Tebow drinking game.
Kart.
This has gone downhill already, and we've not even got the intro out of the way properly yet.
We're a minute in.
Yeah, we could just...
How's that possible?
I don't know. But, anyway.
The only way to do it right is to do it screwed up, if that makes sense.
Do it live! Fuck it!
Yeah.
There we go.
There we are. So, Dave, the reason why we're splitting this down is because we've actually got ourselves quite a lot to talk about, and of course... our opening lines, really, we had Dario Franchitti leave the motor racing world a couple of months ago now. And then, of course, Alan McNish, he, all of a sudden, this came from nowhere, decided that he was going to retire from essentially running in that Audi Le Mans car. He's gone. Bye.
Yeah, that was very unexpected. I don't even think Audi knew about it from kind of what I was reading. It was just like they found out like how we found out on Twitter.
Which I think is like the craziest thing. It really is one of the most from out of nowhere stories that we've seen all year long. In fact, it kind of trumps Montoya coming back to IndyCar. And people within the Audi camp were shocked about it. You mentioned it, the team. Tom Christensen was like, yeah, he was shocked. It was like, well, we're all close to each other, and I didn't expect him to pull the trigger in the way that he's done. I thought that he might scale it down first. I mean, that's one of the things that drivers generally do. I mean, Mark Martin, for example, in NASCAR, I mean, let's be fair, he's retired how many times now?
Well, if you count every year since the tour that he had, it's probably like 6 or 7.
Oh, we're up to 8 now.
Yeah. And he'll no doubt be back for another Daytona 500, and he might come back for another plate race here and there, but, he winds it down, and there are drivers who wind it down, and Le Mans is one of those series where you can just run a 24-hour race and not do anything else, but McNish said, of course, that the reason why he chose to do it now was so that, new LMP1 rules for next year for Le Mans, he thought that was the best time to do so, as there was a car change, rather than either risk himself being uncompetitive in a new car, or Audi put too much effort into making the car kind of work with him, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a selfless, team-focused attitude to retire, even though he's still at the top of his game, to go out with, the rules changes and, not risking Audi building a car around him and then plugging someone else in later and maybe it doesn't turn out as well. So, I got to give the guy a lot of credit. But, he doesn't have a 24 hours of Daytona Rolex yet. I wonder if he'll give that a go again.
Well, yeah, and, I mean, it's one of those things. A lot of people forget he raced in Formula 1 back for Toyota. I mean, it's funny, he goes from racing Toyota to essentially, destroying Toyota in the Audi, which it kind of makes me laugh at times. But he did his first, kind of Le Mans style thing in Toyota. Then he moved to Audi. Then he decided that he was going to drive the Toyota in F1. That didn't work out for him. And then he went back to Le Mans. Let's be honest, that F1 career wasn't that good. In fact, the one thing I remember about it was that crazy accident he had in qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah, he went off really bad at 130R, and did he flip over the tire barriers or almost went over, I believe, and.
Yeah.
But, you kind of can't fault McNish. I mean, he was with Toyota. What success did that team have with any driver,
Well, yeah, that Toyota F1 team, I can't remember that many good performances that team ever had. And, it's another circumstance of you pump money into an F1 program, as so many people have done over the years. BAR, of course, did it, and it was actually only when the money ran out on BAR and Honda that all of a sudden they became fast.
Yeah, I'm looking at Toyota's foray back into Formula One in 2002. They only scored 2 points. In 2003, they scored several points finishes, but never higher than 5th. And in 2004, they were disqualified from running illegal parts, and they had a whole bunch of problems. So, yeah, just goes to show you, just because you have the most money doesn't mean you're going to win anything.
Don't ever give up.
Don't ever give up. Well, I think that was the story for Honda, BAR Honda. As soon as they left, Braun pretty much bought the team for about 20 cents, and that was the year that Cole won the championship. So, indeed, don't ever give up. But the more important thing, really, McNish, is now he's left, Franchitti's out, and Paul DeResta is struggling to get a drive. That kind of third wave of Scottish drivers in motorsports is kind of gone.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think that there's really not a major player from Scotland in any of the big racing series throughout the world. I'm sure that'll change, but for right now, it's kind of a lull, and it's unfortunate because Franchitti, by all intents and purposes, should have been able to continue going without that big wreck, and Alan McNish chose to retire at this point. So definitely going to be a void for a little while, but it'll be interesting to see who comes in and fills that in the next couple of years.
And it's kind of scary because as far as success goes in Formula One, the Scots have completely dominated the English and the rest of Britain as far as, top level championship goes. You think originally it was Jimmy Clark who, had he have not been involved in that crash at the Hockham Ring, arguably could have won 3 or 4 championships. Then, of course, you had Sir Jackie Stewart, who won 3 championships. Then it kind of died down. But then that second wave, yes, you really only had David Coulthard in F1, but at the same time when you had Colin McRae and Richard Burns in Rally, and, you looked outside of F1, it was Scotland basically taking the fight to Finland as far as WRC. It was great racing.
Yeah, it definitely was. Unfortunately, I'm not as studied up on my Scottish driver history as you are, so I can't add too much, but I do know the major players. And,
of course, the question is, at the moment, hanging in the balance over Paul DeResta, because a couple of us thought that he was going to go to IndyCar. We discussed briefly last week how he was one of those drivers who might potentially have been able to get the 10 car. Realistically, he probably would have got the 8 and they would have moved TK over to the 10 car anyway. But it's weird. And we've had it over time, for example. Germany's had it. They had a lot of drivers and then, no drivers. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that, at one point, Sebastian Vettel wasn't doing well, we almost had a complete lull. Nico Rosberg was pretty much nowhere. British drivers at one point, I think we had 6 drivers in F1 who were from the UK. That's completely dwindled down as well. And, of course, there's that one thing over the American driver trying to get into F1. And, of course, the last F1 driver we had was what? Scott Speed?
Yeah. And then
We'd rather not remember.
Yeah, that's kind of a sore subject. And then who was before that? Michael Andretti?
I think so.
And we
I
don't
think
know
there was
how that
one
worked.
more in there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who it would have been, though.
Well, you had a Canadian, which was... But you don't classify Canadians as real America when you're south of the border, do you?
No, they're not Americans. Just like you think a Canadian's gonna call Andrew King a Canadian?
You never know. Do you like Tim Hortons, Andy? That's a no.
He either creamed himself or that was a yes.
Yeah.
That was both.
Oh.
He's a Canadian.
Now, well,
Oh
my. Well, I have to yell at you again. You didn't tell the folks how to interact with us at the top of the show.
Yeah, do you know why I didn't tell the folks how to interact with us at the top of the show? Did you listen to the top of the show?
Well, you
You're
could
so
have still.
fucking unbearable, you goddamn fool-ass motherfucker.
Randy said
Yeah.
that was bullshit.
Now, well, I know the intro was extremely screwed up, kind of like the physics on the rough right now, but
Got him.
I touched the back of the car with my finger. Touch a car with my fingernail, it flipped over.
Oops.
But you're a broadcast professional. You broadcasted WCS races and World Tour events. You should have overcome that kind of failing.
Would you like some background music to this?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, here we go. So, if you would like to interact with us on the Wil and Dave Show, you can follow us at Twitter using the Twitter handle Wil and Dave Show. You can go to Facebook, facebook.com/Wil_Dave. Alternatively, you can use the hashtag Wil_Dave as well. Leave your comments on the YouTube page, and if we can actually be bothered to read them, we'll read them out over the course of the next 1 hour and 49 minutes. Alternatively, if you got my mobile number, or you got Dave's mobile number, give me a call. You never know, I might actually answer it live on air. Back to you, Dave.
Well, very, very well done. And I like the headbanging music in the background.
Yeah, I finally found a way so that you can actually hear the music and the stuff. It's amazing.
So, we've done 8 episodes, which is 2 months worth of programming, and it took you that long to figure it out. Congratulations.
Well, it wasn't me. Actually, Andrew King failed miserably. It was actually Paul who... Yeah, it was actually Paul who figured out what was wrong with all my settings, and he's the one who got it working. So, Andrew King, thanks for nothing.
You bitch.
So,
Wow. Yeah, I can't believe you'd sell Mr. King down the river like that. but-
Fucking threw me under the bus.
yeah,
That escalated quickly.
it did.
At least he didn't throw me under an ice cream truck.
You want some ice cream?
But...
Pervert, the pervert.
Oh, God.
Excuse me. I'm looking for a car that's been tricked out to look like an ice cream truck.
I'm surprised the Sim Racing World hasn't asked one of them yet, but let's go back to my original point.
Oh, wait, no, they did. They did. Twisted Metal.
Oh, God. Oh,
Great game.
God.
What, PS1?
Amazing game.
So,
well,
go so far as to
you're
call
in
it
the
amazing.
minority yet again.
I am. It's just because I'm black. It's as simple as that. Yes, it is racist. Now shut up, you faggots. I was talking.
Well, you're grumpy today. You not had enough vodka or what?
I'm not drinking vodka today. I'm on the Budweiser. My boss bought me
that's the problem.
Budweiser, a crate of Budweiser for Christmas. So I was like, you know what? I might as well just drink it.
So you're having those gastrointestinal problems? Is that why you're cranky?
Yeah, I am. I'll tell you what.
Fussy baby.
I'm going to be like John Goke in about an hour and a half's time.
Wait.
Oh.
Do I know about that one or?
The Kaylee story and the toilet paper.
Oh, toilet paper.
Yeah.
Did you cut a hole in your racing seat or what?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the reason why my chair is like half broken at the moment. But originally I was talking about American drivers after I stopped talking about Scottish drivers.
The Germans.
Alexandro Rossi, of course, is that guy who everyone's pinning their hopes on because of the fact that, you know, Bernie Eccleston's finally figured out that he's not going to get a woman with tits to drive an F1 from America. Therefore, he's going to have
I'm just fucking pissed.
Therefore, he's going to have to get someone who's already got a shit ton of sponsorship who, you know, they can inject Monster Energy or something into his veins until he drives quickly.
Yeah, you know, Rossi's name's been thrown around a lot, and wasn't he the guy that Ferrari was always saying they wanted to put a third car for?
Yeah, and, you know, I'll talk about third cars in a moment, and I've seen a lot of promise from Rossi, but at the same time, and by the way, he is, of course, he's the Caterham test driver, and he's got the Delta Wing seat for the Daytona Rolex 24 Hours, but I don't know whether or not he'll be able to handle Formula 1. I don't fully mean that on his driving talent. I mean, can he deal with the pressure? It will be the most pressure-based seat in F1 since Lewis Hamilton joined McLaren that first year.
Yeah, that's true, and we know that Scott Speed didn't seem to handle it real well, at least in terms of performance on the track, but, I mean, Red Bull team really wasn't much when he was there anyway. So, it'll be really interesting. I mean, those guys are obviously there for a reason. Caterham wouldn't have him as a test driver. They didn't think he was capable of something. Might just be one of these guys that's happy with the opportunity. He doesn't let stuff bother him. He just drives along and ends up being another American failure, or he could be the next thing since Mario Andretti. You never really know, and it'll be interesting to see if he ever gets his chance to run in some competitive equipment, not an HRT or a 1991 Lola.
Well, he might actually have been faster than 1991 Lola than his drive at Caterham this year.
I think so.
Honest.
Yeah,
likely to break down.
Well, all right. So HRT's gone. You got Caterham, and then you got Marussia / Virgin / whatever they're called these days. Are they ever going to score any points? I mean, it's been, 4 or 5 years, and they've yet to score a point. Are they ever going to get to the point where they're going to be competitive, or are they just doomed to be also-rans?
I think they're doomed to be also-rans in the same way that Minardi were always doomed to be also-rans. And let's not forget Arrows. I mean, the only time that Arrows were good was when they'd run out of money and they deliberately qualified outside the 107% rule. Now, the race when they tried doing that at Manicourt, they were the fastest guys in Sector 1 and Sector 2, and then they literally just slammed on the brakes in Sector 3 because they didn't actually want to race because they couldn't afford to race, and therefore they had to use a backward rule that if you fail to qualify outside 107%, Bernie Ecclestone won't charge you lots of money for not turning up.
So basically they get their track time, sponsored time on the practice sessions, and then they don't qualify and they don't have to pay anything.
Yeah,
Yep.
But,
Wow.
I mean, part of the new regs, the FIA have invited new teams to tender to be F1 teams. So, in theory, there could be another 3 teams added, which will make the total number of cars in F1 32. But, as far as I'm aware, FIA regs state that you can only have 26 cars running in F1. So, therefore, you would have a total of 6 cars who just wouldn't ever get through. In fact, it'd be 30 cars because there's only 24 cars in F1. One of the teams is whatevered. But you'd have 4 cars who wouldn't qualify for each race. And I think actually, you get to that point and you're going to have to make the cars more competitive because you'd have 4 cars that just won't qualify for each race. And that's even worse as far as sponsorship goes. You can't guarantee you're actually going to line up on the grid every week. Then people are going to start thinking, well, is there any point investing any money into you? On the flip side of that, how many sponsors do Caterham, HRT, and that have between them?
Well, for the Marussia team, I don't know of any sponsors, but Caterham seems to do pretty well. They got names all over their car.
Yeah, did I actually pay him any money?
That's a good point.
Oh, a
well,
little bit.
Danica Patrick proves that you don't have to be good to have a sponsor.
Well, that is a true story. I mean, I do feel with the HRT, we could actually walk down there, pay them $10, and get a Wil and Dave show sticker on that car.
Yeah, we should try that sometime. Well,
Yeah.
maybe you go to the British Grand Prix, see if you can go to like Caterham or something, slap a Wil and Dave sticker on the end plate or something, and we can be famous.
Yeah, see, actually, a racing forum, TBK Light, actually did this once. With, I think it was the HRT that they raised about $150 and they got, it was a tiny sticker, but they actually got it onto the car. And in the world that we have now with Kickstarter projects left, right and centre, surely we're not that far away from having a community funded kind of race team where, you know, you can buy a stake in that car, in that team for, I don't know, let's set your starting price at $100. Now, you're not going to get anything really out of it, but people are throwing money away into Kickstarter projects for no reason at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you think that Formula One's too rich for a Kickstarter program, or are you going to have like a Kickstarter late model or a Kickstarter, Craftsman truck? My God, what am I, 2004?
Wow.
Camping.
Well, are you the Marcus Ambrose's pit crew spotter guy? Congratulations, you run a race in the next Tales series. It's like, yeah, that was like 14 years ago.
Brian France one time when he was talking about the new series, he's like, we'd like to, welcome the Craftsman Craftsman World Truck Series or something like that. He just totally butchered it. The guy who runs NASCAR couldn't even say the name right.
Well, that sums up the state of NASCAR, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as F1 goes, I mean, the budgets. I mean, they've tried again putting a budget cap on there. The last time they put a budget cap on there, you had the likes of Red Bull, and Ferrari, and McLaren look at the budget cap and think, yeah, maybe not. And
I don't know. I don't know how do you enforce a budget cap. There's going to be all sorts of ways these teams can go around the rules. You're never going to limit spending in Formula One.
No.
It's not going to happen.
It's impossible.
Well, yeah, it is impossible. I mean, to keep track of everything. And also, what happens if you write down the limit and then you've got to go and buy, I don't know, an extra tyre? Or even worse, you've got to go and buy yourself a couple of screws and like, F1, no, sorry. You spent too much money now. You can't go and buy those 5 screws. You're going to have to run without an engine cover for the rest of the season. Doesn't work that way.
You can sell some of your constructor points for extra cap space.
Now, that is an interesting point. You know, you could almost have a championship for... But then you're almost getting into the kind of like LMP1, LMP2 rules. And LMP1's almost, you know, it was almost do what you want. And then LMP2 was a lot more restricted. But if you to do that, I mean, you would have Ferrari and McLaren, if they could spend the money, the same with Red Bull, they would spend anything they possibly can. You used to have their wind tunnel on 360 days a year. You used to have people, you know, 3 shifts working non-stop. Now, I mean, F1 makes the teams send their people on holidays. Like, yeah, sorry, we're closing our doors. You're not allowed to talk about work for a month. Fuck off.
Maybe they could have a dollars per point championship.
Yeah. And I think that it could work. But again, it's all coming back down to you want to turn on the TV and you want to see racing. And no matter what you do, if you have, you know, a budget cap, like if you don't get champion, it confuses the viewer. But at the same time, you can't enforce a budget cap. So you're always thinking, well, what's the point in there being one?
Exactly. As far as I'm concerned, Formula One is supposed to be the premier #1 technologically advanced sport. And you're not going to get that, you know, viewer if you're limiting how much it can spend, or you can only use, I don't know, carbon pieces here, and here instead of wherever, and it just, you limit the innovation, it's going to impact, you know, the product, I guess you could say.
But to go back to the new teams thing, now, as far as the economic recovery is going, it's a little bit better than when it was when they first tried setting up USF1. Do you think that maybe the idea of a US-based team could come to fruition in the next, I don't know, 6-7 years, in line with that 2016-2020 idea that the FIA are mooting at the moment?
The only way a Formula One team will succeed in the United States is if Bernie Ecclestone or whoever's running it at the time pushes it, aka wink wink, helps them out, it makes it happen. I think they saw what happened to the first USF1 team, and they don't want anything to do with it.
And technically BAR before that.
Oh yeah, what
wasn't much.
I mean, seriously, how American was British American racing?
It had the word American in it. I think that was about it, as far as I'm concerned.
And I remember that first season, they didn't read the rules where you have to have the same paint scheme on both cars.
That was genius, though, at the same time. And I think, no, you know what? This is another one of my issues. Why do you have to have the same schemes on every car? Now, of course, you could end up with Formula One meets the Oregon Ducks, where you have, you know, a different paint scheme for every car and every race, and it does get a bit confusing. It gets a bit confusing in NASCAR when we have that. But at the same time, they change the helmet every fucking race if you're Sebastian Vettel, and if we're going to have to run the same paint schemes, why couldn't the drivers change their helmet every race?
This is true. Yeah, I guess they're just trying to keep some continuity between the teams, just so... I don't know. I don't have any better explanation than that. But I did like the zipper up the middle that tied the two schemes together, because they're complete opposites.
It was the worst scheme in the history of the world, but also one of the better, more inventive schemes we have as well. Of course, we've had F1 cars sponsored by everything, including back in the 70s, we had condom brands and pretty much Playboy sponsor F1. And now, I mean, with flag advertising not being allowed, with alcohol advertising being looked at really funnily, you're almost limiting the companies that can come into F1 to sponsor it now anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty true. You're talking about some bad paint schemes. Remember the Honda 2007-2008 Earth Dream car?
Yes.
The '08 car with the elephant, I guess, wings you could call it going on.
Yeah, it was.
It was more than just a visual. It was, a proper elephant that was actually placed onto the back of the car. That's why it was so fucking slow. Because that car was shit. It's like, care about the Earth.
Was.
We care about the Earth. Which is why we were running about 4 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, they were green before green was the thing to do.
Yeah. Of course, you also had, this one year, Minardi had a fucking sickening paint scheme. I think it was 2000. When it was, oh my god, I've just drunk a litre of Gatorade, thrown it back up over a car, and that's the shade of green we're going to go with.
The Telefonica car?
Yes, it was fucking ugly.
Yes, and it had a couple streaks of blue and white in it, but otherwise it was vomit.
Yep.
That's a horrible color.
It really was one of the worst looking schemes that we've seen in a very long while, actually. But to move on just a tiny bit, now, of course, NASCAR, they were testing at Charlotte last week, and they're testing new regs for 2014.
Say again, I was drinking my beer.
NASCAR, new regulations, 2014, testing at Charlotte. Pay attention.
Oh, I have to pay attention for 2 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they did a bunch of testing, and apparently they're trying to make the car, have even more downforce by adding a even bigger rear spoiler, which I kind of don't understand, because doesn't a bigger rear spoiler direct more air up and around the car trailing it, which wouldn't then increase the so-called aero push of the car behind?
Well, it's got to an extent, and also adding more downforce to a car. Hey NASCAR, do you not remember IndyCar from about 2001 to 2011? I mean,
Exactly. Look at the cars in the 80s and early 90s. They had no downforce on them at all, and those guys are all over the place. You make these guys drive the car, not just turn the car into the corner and hold it there.
I mean, back in the 80s and the 90s, those cars were designed to look like the real-life counterparts, and it was a case of, okay, let's just find a way to put a huge fucking engine in there. Let's find a way to, NASCAR doesn't recognise the fact we've got this illegal fuel tank. Let's go racing.
That's right.
And it was good racing.
It was good racing.
And, this is the reason why NASCAR was so big at the turn, because it had all that momentum from the 90s, and it, with kart, IndyCar, IRL, call it what you will, disintegrating, literally, in itself in the mid-90s, people looked for that alternative product. NASCAR's there, and they're saying, hey, we've got a fucking awesome series. You come 15, almost 20 years later, those roles have completely reversed. I mean, this year's Daytona 500 was the biggest joke of a 500 I have seen in my fucking life. It was pathetic, it was boring. This season hasn't been the best season. You flick over the channel to NBC Sports Network, and you've got a product which has good racing. NASCAR need to sort this out now, and adding a spoiler to the car isn't the way to do it.
No, it's not, but I feel like they're running out of options to make the racing better. And I'm the perfect example of the kart implosion and the NASCAR uprising. Because when I was younger, I watched a lot more IndyCar racing with my dad, because that was the better racing. You were in the glory days when you had like Mansell come over and all that. And I did not watch as much NASCAR as I do now. And then when kart blew up and turned into a joke, and the IRL was just, Tony George's, I got my, the bat and the ball and I'm going to do what I want rules, it was garbage. And NASCAR was on the increase, so I switched to that. And honestly, I didn't come back to IndyCar racing until I joined iRacing, started running the car on here, and got to know some people that race a car and are passionate for IndyCar, and I've kind of made a role reversal. I'd say it's at least 50-50 now. between IndyCar and NASCAR, if not more towards IndyCar, because I go to more IndyCar races a year than I ever would with NASCAR, probably 10-1, the ratio.
And the comment by the Spring Cup program manager for Team Chevrolet, I'll come to the actual comment in a moment. Who in the right name calls their child Alba Colon? Now, Alba over here is an low-quality electronics company. Alba Colon, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, we all know there's some crazy names out there. Maybe they pumped somebody too full of drugs when they were giving birth, and they just said a couple syllables and it turned into a name. Who really knows?
Right, you talk about syllables. The NASCAR VP of Innovation and Racing Development is Gene Stefaninshan. So they came up with Gene, and then they came up with the Stefan part, and then on the birth certificate they're like, oh shit, my dyslexia's kicked in. Let's put a YSHYN into that. Come on.
So if you ever have kids, is that how their names are going to turn out, Will, since you're dyslexic?
I think it would turn out something a bit like George Attenquingo, as far as I'm aware.
Hey,
that'll work.
I could have swore I saw George a couple weeks ago as the sign language guy at the Nelson Mandela Memorial. Was that him?
I think it actually, yeah, he's now been taken into a mental institute, so no more iRacing for him.
Oh,
Whoops.
man. I know George was one of the cleanest guys that I'd ever raced with, except for when I heard about he burned some people to death.
Other than that, great guy.
Yeah, other than that.
Yeah, other than that, great guy. Smashing.
You know, let's put the tribal stereotypes to one side, you know. People's got to do what they got to do. We'll get back to this comment by Alba Colon. The reality is, racing is not only a sport, it's entertainment, and we need to be realistic about that. The race fans want to be entertained, they want more parsing, more unpredictable settings about what's going to happen at the end of the race. Now, I'm going to break this down piece by piece. Yes, sport is entertainment. It's the reason why you get 80,000 people plus go and watch an NFL game. It's the reason why you have 250,000 people go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But as we've said the last couple of weeks, Dave, racing is also about innovation. And a lot of people like motor racing because of that innovation.
Yeah, you can definitely, there's no argument about it. There's no innovation in NASCAR. NASCAR has set the rules to make a spec series. The cars look a little different, but I'd say, 85% of the car is the same. And it's like, here you go, here's a spec series, go and race. And then they wonder why all the cars run in a line together. Because they're all the same. The cars that run the same speed are never going to pass each other.
And as far as that entertainment value goes, of course, that was one of the big arguments back when we had the two-car tangos, that especially the older NASCAR fans, the old school fans, they liked the idea of having 3 lanes, 11 deep, and that was what they thought was their entertainment. Of course, you had a couple of people that say, wait a minute, you never really got any passing when you're running 3 lanes, 11 deep. We had how many lead changes at Talladega that one year? It was stupid how many lead changes are. And, especially when Jimmy Johnson won that race by like an inch or so, you didn't know who was going to win at the end of the race. Arguably, the end of that race was entertainment.
Yeah, the tandem drafting with the Cup car at Talladega and Daytona was some of the best restrictor plate racing that I've ever seen. And then you had a bunch of Dale Jr. fans who were pissed off because, oh, Dale's not that good, man, with the tandem shit. So they
Are you trying to talk like a redneck or someone who's stoned?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I was kind of confused
it could be
on that.
both.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Anyway, both. Probably both.
Let's just say it was
Randy
stoned
said that was
for-
bullshit.
You see things at racetracks that make you wonder.
Yeah. So anyway, they all bitch and moan, and they're like, oh, this tandem, this isn't what we want. We want the pack because Dale Jr. always wins in the pack races. So for whatever reason, NASCAR went back and said, you know what? Let's get rid of the tandem drafting, which created many, passing opportunities and unpredictable race finishes. And let's make it so whoever's leading with 30 laps to go wins the thing.
Of course, it's not who's ever leading with 30 laps to go, because then what you do is you get someone chuck a beer can onto the track and you get the caution. Or you get the fake beer can that only the ESPN cameras can put on the screen because they've superimposed it onto the track.
Let's be fair, Will. You only get a debris caution when NASCAR wants there to be one. Watkins Glen's a perfect example. They didn't want a caution, even though it was freaking oil all over the track. They didn't throw a yellow, but, you know, if Dale Jr.'s got a chance to win a race and he's in second place with 10 laps to go, oh, there's a piece of pencil lead in turn 3, better throw a caution.
Yep. There's one too many marbles. It's now into an unsafe level of marbles. That marble is now debris. But, of course, every sport wants passing. Every sport wants unpredictable settings. In every sport, they want to keep you entertained till the end of the race. And, you know, IndyCar had that. They had unpredictable settings. They had things that would happen to the last second. I mean, of course, IndyCar, it was, yeah, you know, thousandths of a second. That's a bit too much for us. Let's go to 10 one-thousandths of a second. Let's see how close we can get the cars to run. That was great. And we had the pack racing. But it was also incredibly dangerous. And I think that if NASCAR's not careful, they are going to start tipping that pendulum back towards unsafe racing.
Yeah. It's just a, you know, what am I trying to say? Because, it's quote-unquote exciting when you got a million cars surrounding each other, but, you know, chances of getting injured are, like, ridiculously high. But then if you have actual racing where you leave it to the team's devices to make the best car, well, then sometimes you're going to have a runaway. So real race fans will watch no matter what. They're basically racing series are just trying to vie for that average person who's, you know, either looking for a crash or something, you know, quote unquote exciting to get them to watch it.
How long until NASCAR tries to put push to pass? That will get more passing.
You know what they ought to do? They ought to do a DRS with that rear, you know, that 7-foot rear spoiler, and you could push a button and it'll lay it down on the back straightaway or something.
Alternatively, you know, this is NASCAR. Let's just, you know, pump more gasoline through the engine.
Oh, you mean E85?
Yeah, sorry.
Turbocharged. No, yeah, get turbochargers on there.
Yeah, that would work. And
what could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go? And I think this is the issue right now, is that I think series around the world, they're struggling to find that balance between what is, you know, just letting the people make the cars and have that technical innovation, which, of course, brings money in because, you know, you'd want to have a sponsor on a race car, which is like, look at us, we have got the most technologically advanced race car in the world, and what is called good racing, where you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, any given Sunday in NFL, you could argue that applies sometimes in NASCAR, but at the same time, it doesn't. You go to Bristol, and, you know, you're thinking, okay, Kyle Busch is probably going to win. If Brad Keselowski uses the speeding trick, then maybe Brad Keselowski will win. And it's about that. And that really is all it is at some tracks.
What if they legalize steroids?
Donovan McNabb might have something to say about that.
Well, why don't they, if they legalize jet fuel, then Michael Waltrip Racing will win every week.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, they'll then have to decide which one of the cars has to spin and slow down to let the other car win. So they might not win every single race.
Yeah, Michael Waltrip's going to pull Clint Boyer in the office and be like, dude, you know what? We need you to stick your arm in this poison oak every week so I have a legitimate excuse in case you crash.
You're going to get real hot real fast, Dave.
I mean, there's always the argument that it's Michael Waltrip, so...
And there's that series, of course, which kind of has found a way to merge the two of them. And it's one of the best series in the world right now. It's called V8 Supercars.
Wait, no, I had a better idea for NASCAR. So they have the Nationwide Series and the Sprint Cup Series. Why don't they do mixed class racing?
Oh!
Somebody throw him out of here.
It's so crazy, though. It might actually be hilarious to watch. But my God, is that going to be dangerous?
They used to do that when they didn't have the car counts back in the 70s.
Yeah.
But
you know, I think they've already had a good trial run.
Imagine.
They've already had a good trial run with Danica being in there.
Aha!
I'm sorry, what's your name? Jay Moore?
Scott Speed.
Yeah, okay.
All right, poll question. Since, you know, BT likes poll questions or whatever. Danica, in a cup car versus the whole nationwide field, does she still finish laps down?
She won't necessarily win.
He just fucking slapped it right into the front of me. What a
I mean, you talk about the track, of course. She's running Daytona. She's going to win by a country mile. You talk about a track like, you know, Martin. Actually, she's not done that bad at Martinsville. So I'd take one back. A real track like Darlington or Bristol, where you have to have that mixture of rhythm, control, and you've got to have that entire package. So it's not just one thing or one thing or one thing of another. You've got to combine everything together. Maybe not. And, you know, there's not that much of a disparity in when it comes to those tracks between Nationwide and the Cup car. So, arguably, she might have finished laps down, which it's harsh to say, but Danica, let's not forget, isn't the first IndyCar driver to make that transition to NASCAR. There's been two big people before her in recent years. Sam Hornish Jr., Dario Franchitti. How did that go?
Yeah, didn't work out real well.
And Dario Franchitti's a multi-IndyCar champion. And Hornish Jr., it took him forever to really get himself onto his feet.
Yeah, I don't think it helped that Penske threw him in head first into a Cup car his first full season. That doesn't do you any favors. And it didn't do any favors for Dario either.
Not really, no.
The only reason that Hornish has any success is because he was given the chance to go back to the Nationwide Series and develop and learn there instead of just being thrown into the Cup car like Franchitti, you know, was. To some respects, Juan Montoya, because, I mean, what did he run? A year's worth of ARCA and Nationwide, and then he went in the Cup. I mean, you're not going to learn anything there. ARCA brakes! Yeah, exactly. You're just going to learn how to not brake at Talladega when the whole pack wrecks in front of you.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
We'll move on, though. We'll move on into IndyCar. There's this big debate going on right now. Whether Scott Dixon should run the 1 car next year or stick with his 9 car. And, of course, Ryan Hunter Reay's gone on record saying, well, you know, you're the champion. You should run the 1 car. But Dixie's argument is, well, when I last ran the 1 car, I had a shit season, actually. Let's not forget, Ryan Hunter Reay was the first guy to run the 1 car in a number of years, and let's be honest, his season wasn't great at all, was it?
Let's just put it this way, Will. Is the car number that's painted on the car, does it have any influence on how you drive your car, how the team builds a car, how the pit stops happen, how, you know, Will Power gets run over by Gerald Hildebrand or any crazy crap like that? Does that painted number on there have any influence on that?
Yes, because it's a slightly different shades there for the... I don't know. No, of course not.
It absorbs the heat and expands the wings in certain ways that you didn't anticipate.
Yeah. You know what, Scott Dixon? Man up, run the number 1, be the guy to disprove the theory that you have a crappy season after winning a championship when you run the number 1.
That's
you say that and it'll blow up every race.
Yeah.
Watch, it'll happen.
Of course, F1's gone the other way. All of a sudden, they're saying, okay, rather than gridding you by your championship points with car numbers, we'll let you choose your own number. And they're doing that because it makes it more identifiable for when people run. When you get the casual viewer, they say, okay, number 27 car. We're talking about Ferrari. And that will have the more identifiable element. And, of course, in NASCAR, we don't talk necessarily about Jeff Gordon. Or we don't necessarily talk about Kyle Busch. We're talking about the 24 car, the 18 car.
Yeah, unless you're a Jeff Gordon fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, people aren't getting, you know, Jeff Gordon's face in most, you know, instances tattooed on their body. They're getting a car number.
Yeah, it's a 200-mile-an-hour tramp stamp is what they're doing.
How many people freaked out when they heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to have a different number and they might have to alter their tattoos?
Yeah. You can't have that. I got myself that tattoo because I'm Dale for life. He needs to run that car until he retires.
Did they erase Dale Earnhardt's tattoo when he died?
Oh, no, they just put angel wings on it.
No, now they're gonna get rid of it for next year.
Yeah, Austin Dillon in the free car. What do you think about that one, kids?
Well, there's going to be a lot of Austin Dillon fans around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of Earnhardt fans supporting him just because of the number is what it is.
Well, it's a pretty cool number, and, you know, it's got a good legacy behind it.
But, you know, I mean, look, how many people have run the 3 before Dale Earnhardt. You know, or the old Junior Johnson fans get pissed off that Dale Earnhardt ran the number after Junior Johnson gave it up. No, it's a freaking number. If Dale Earnhart would have retired instead of, unfortunately, being killed, you wouldn't even have this argument. It's just because he happened to get killed in the car with the number became sacred. I mean, the 43 got run by people like Rick Wilson and John Andretti. I mean, nobody's in NASCAR. You didn't hear anybody complaining about that.
Yeah, of course. So in NFL, you know, you do retire the numbers. And, you know, for example, no one will ever wear the 18 jersey in Indianapolis ever again because of the impact that an individual had and that legacy from individual to number to team that it kind of felt right, they felt, to retire the number. And, of course, in NASCAR, the teams the teams don't own the number, but they lease the number from NASCAR, and they get first refusal on a year-by-year basis. So, I'll say it properly so that someone from Alabama doesn't try and shoot me tomorrow. But, at the same time, you've got two arguments there. Of course, if we're going to be really controversial, there are some people from some states that might not be able to count any higher than 3. So, that's the reason why they like the number so much. But, at the same time, you know, people ran the 27 car after Gilles Villeneuve died. And Gilles Villeneuve was one of the most loved drivers Ferrari ever had. Go figure.
Yeah, I think with the Earnhardt number, people are just looking for something to link Earnhardt to, and that's the only thing they've been able to hold on to.
It's not Earnhardt 2, it's Earnhardt 3. Get with the program.
Also, because the Black Goodwrench card was gone, the driver was gone, the team changed drastically. There was nothing left for those guys guys and girls to hold on to. So the number's all they had. So,
well, should they have formally retired it then?
No, because then you got to go into the argument of, well, you got to retire Richard Petty's number. Then you got to retire,
Okay, what was
Jimmy
NASCAR
Johnson's
retired it then?
Well,
took out the
thing
team
you run into.
Well, should we retire the 42?
What, for Kyle Petty?
No, that was Juan Pablo.
For the jet dryer.
I bet they
what was the number on the jet dryer? They need to retire that number, actually.
Yeah.
The thing you run into with the numbers
jet dryers.
Well, I walked right into that one, or should I say I drove into that one?
Yeah. Did he slide in some oil or something?
No, my rear end broke, and I spun right into the jet dryer and set the track on fire, melted the asphalt.
Yeah.
But anyway, NASCAR only runs, 2-digit numbers. So if you start retiring 8, 10 numbers from guys that were famous, keep doing that long enough, you're going to run out of numbers.
So essentially, you are going to say that NASCAR, you're going to say NASCAR's going to be about in 200 years?
Well, it will help the fans, count that high.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
What's that number there?
Well, it's
10-0.
Yeah. Well,
am I one of the few NASCAR fans that has a college education?
No comment.
I'm in the process of getting one. That makes it any better.
Yeah.
All right, so there'll at least be 2 of us, Chin.
Well, of course, you have Dr. Jerry Punch, so he's got college education. But he's only...
Yeah, but he doesn't know what's going on, so it kind of
voids that.
Hey, he saved Rusty Wallace's life one time. You got to give him that.
Yeah.
It's like saying John Madden has
But that's medical. That's not racing knowledge.
This is true.
So, if he was a doctor, okay, that's fine, but that's not his role anymore.
No. So, we'll move on again. This year, it's been a kind of up and down year, of course, that we had a couple of big fatalities again. And we had a couple of very scary moments again. But we've also had some incredible races this year, Dave. And, of course, my favourite race of the year, as I talked about earlier, was the 2013 Daytona 500. It was the most exhilarating, most entertaining race in the history of the world.
Brian France got to you, didn't he?
Yeah. But, no, okay. This year's Indy, it didn't live up to last year's Indy hype in many ways, mainly because of the fact that we didn't get that final lap, I don't think. And, yeah, probably TK would have won. He was in the right place at the right time to do so. This year's Indy was a great race, but arguably it wasn't the best IndyCar race of the year.
Oh, definitely not.
No,
So what was?
I don't know. I've got to be blatantly honest.
Auto Club was pretty good.
Yeah, for the
except
most
for
part.
Except for the part where somebody, brought their tractor into the track and dumped a bunch of dirt all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a weird thing with IndyCar this year. Their oval races weren't at the standard of the road course races, which probably pissed off a lot of the purists. But that stretch when ABC were doing, primetime races, Texas, for example, was shockingly bad this year. But we've had some amazing road course races where, they've actually been able to drive without hitting each other on a restart. And
Thank God.
We've had that awesome mix of strategy, racing, and I mean, Mid-Ohio is actually that one race that really stands out for me, because I was actually on the edge of my seat. You have the 2 races in Detroit, which were awesome this year.
Baltimore was very good.
Baltimore is epic, yeah. And I think the road course racing in IndyCar was just been phenomenal this year.
Yeah, Toronto was good.
Barber was good.
Yep.
And that's saying
So road versus street?
I think street road. I mean, they've both had their positives, both had their negatives. I think Sonoma is still a bit boring, but that's because Sonoma's a shit track. And
plus you had controversy.
Don't you knock Sonoma?
Uh-oh.
Sonoma sucks.
Ring the bell.
Nope, we're not getting the bell then. There we are.
There it is.
A little slow, eh?
Yeah, it was a little bit slow. It's like, are you on some fucking weird delay or something?
No, I'm just eating delicious Tostitos. Brought to you by Wil and Dave.
Oh yeah. No, actually,
the Wil and Dave Show brought to you by Tostitos.
Yeah, I can't.
That just shows how good I'm to my sponsors.
Yeah. And then, I mean, outside of IndyCar, of course, NASCAR, they had some really good races this year again. But overall, it's not been the best season, and it's not just because Jimmy Johnson won.
And most of what I consider good NASCAR races this season were on the short tracks, which NASCAR continues to abandon for whatever reason.
As far as Formula 1's concerned, well, we had the British Grand Prix, which was entertaining for all the wrong reasons.
Kablamo.
Yeah. Oh, shit! We've had our 13,000th tyre explosion, which is, I think, the worst tyre controversy we've had since the 2008 NASCAR race at Indy. Or the 2005 F1 race, if you want to stick on the F1 theme there. But again, for me this year, it's all been about MotoGP, which has had phenomenally good racing, and V8 Supercars. Those 2 series this year have been, by far, the best series in the world, period.
Yeah, you can't really argue with that. I mean,
Supercars put on an amazing show this year, every race, really.
Yeah, and I was saying this earlier, they mix it. They give you the innovation. They give you the fact, make a car that looks like your car. Let's put some drivers in there. Yeah, okay, you get pissed off. You're allowed to give them a little bit of a bump, but don't take it too far. We've got some rules in there somewhere. And we go to a series of tracks which, naturally lends itself to good racing. Off we go.
Somebody has challenged the Sonoma Barber opinion on the YouTube channel. Would anyone like to respond? How can you shit on Sonoma and then praise Barber?
I don't know. Okay, the Barber race this year had better racing. And, of course, with Barber, the first couple of corners are more interesting. Whereas with Sonoma, the track just doesn't have that flow in the same way that Barber does to lead itself to the racing. Yeah, the racing overall at Barber since IndyCar's gone there hasn't been great, but the racing's been worse at Sonoma. And, for many years, I just put those 2 tracks as time to take a nap part of the season. But Barber, it surprised me, and it pleasantly surprised me this year.
Yeah, the year before Barber race wasn't bad, but that's because Will Power had that engine issue and had to start in the back and watching him charge through the field. But if it wasn't for him passing anybody, it would have been pretty bad. But this year's was definitely a very good race. Road course racing in IndyCar was probably the best in, what would you say, maybe 10, 15 years?
Oh, good, yeah. And I think IndyCar's finally getting some credibility of that, because, of course, you looked at the start of an IndyCar race a couple of years ago, it was just, okay, turn number 1, and we would place bets on how many people would be wiped out.
Yeah, but that did happen this year, too.
Yeah, we did. I was going to say, get onto some of the street tracks, it was like, okay, green flag back in the air, and we're under caution.
Was it Baltimore that started out with the chicane there, that artificial chicane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some less than optimal standing starts as well, but
I think the
yeah,
standing
the
start
first
procedure as a
year-
whole just needs a lot of rethinking
Yeah.
over the next year. And of course, that ties us
Whatever
in,
you want.
ties us in nicely to 2014, because we have got a lot to look forward to. We've got, you know, what will be the most anticipated Le Mans 24 hours in years. We've got ourselves a Daytona 500, which, you know, it will have to have something tragic happen to it to be worse than this year's Daytona 500. You've got an Indy 500, which, you know, you flicked Andretti and Ganassi, give them the opposite engines. We're going to see what happens there. We've got an F1, new F1 regulations, you know, which is going to be interesting. And, of course, they've got turbo engines. And we start it off, as always, with the Rolex, which is the start of the United Sports Car Series, which I think 2014, if you're a motorsports fan, it's a year to actually enjoy motorsports as a whole. If you're listening to this, next year, don't watch just the series that you follow. Turn on the TV, pick something. You see some motorsports on there, watch it. Because I'll tell you what, next year, I think it's going to be awesome, Dave.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to next season. There's going to be so many changes. You know, Formula One could be a reliability race for a while. You know, you could have Vettel leading it and have the engine blow up. It'll be like the old days where you didn't really know if a car was going to finish. So anything could happen there. With the United Sports Car Series in America, you've got the DPs, America. You got the DPs and the LMP2 cars trying to coexist in a class, and how well did they do kind of evening those two? Is one going to be more competitive than another? Is one going to run away with it? Are they going to be pretty similar? I mean, the 24-hour race at Daytona is always a fun race to watch. It breaks the boredom of the winter up because it starts so early. Then IndyCar is just trying to carry on their momentum from, the last several seasons, and NASCAR still trying to get their heads out of their bums and figure out if they can make the cars not all race single file. So I'm really looking forward to 2014.
And I think overall, I mean, you've got new people, new faces, old faces, everyone's going to be keeping an eye out on Dixon. You're going to have, I don't know, about 4 fans in Brazil that's going to be looking to see whether Elio Castroneves can finally actually win a title. But in F1, in F1, you've got people, the era of Vettel, in the same way that people thought with the Gen 5 to the Gen 6 cars ending, I think people are thinking, well, the era of Vettel has now got to be on the back burner. Yes, you've still got the best designer in the world working for Red Bull, but you've opened the floodgates to a whole new level of entertainment by the fact it's all completely different.
Yeah, every couple of years, these series need a shake-up, and this is going to be the perfect shake-up for Formula One. This could be, one of these teams could turn into Braun GP and find something and run away with it. You never know. It'll be very interesting to see how it all turns out. Hopefully, for fans' sake, it's not all Red Bull, because you're going to just get people turning off pretty quick if that continues.
Real hot, real fast, Dave.
Precisely. It is pretty much now time to wrap up our number 1, porn music.
Last time I had lags. That sounds like something you have on a toilet.
So, this is our number 1 of the Wil and Dave show in the books. As I said, we're on for 2 hours today, unless you're listening on the ETV Motorsports Radio Network, in which case, we'll see you next week. However, in hour 2, which will be available on our YouTube page, it will be available on iTunes as well. We're going to talk 100% sim racing. We've got so much to catch up on that we need to have it. We are going to have it. If you're watching live on YouTube, then just stick around. We're going to start that hour immediately after we do this. But Dave, I think after a rocky start, it's been an okay podcast.
You know what? We went off the tracks early, but we rebounded and finished strong. So it was a pretty good showing for us, actually.
And of course, this is our last episode before Christmas. So anyone who is listening, and to you, Dave, happy holidays.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you, Will, and all of our loyal listeners.
Go on. You're allowed to say it.
Of all my podcasts, this one was the most recent.
Until now.
Right now.
Watch on yourself. You have more influence as iRacing boy.
Well, welcome to hour 2 of the Wil and Dave show. This hour is dedicated 100% to sim racing. We split it up because we had so much that we had to talk about. We had to do 1 hour for the cars actually exist in the real world, and then we had an hour for the people who think they can sit in a racing chair and be the Sebastian Vettel because they can run on an apron on an oval. Will Vincent, yes, we're along with you. Will Vincent along with Dave Judson, Joshua Chin and Andy King. So we've got plenty to talk about. If you've been listening under a rock the last couple of days, there have been some enormous announcements. Off the scale ginormous announcements on iRacing. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk a little bit about Assetto Corsa as well. But before I go any further, I have to do this. Dave, are you ready?
Ready.
Follow us on Twitter. Use the Twitter handle Wil and Dave Show. You can tweet us using the hashtag Wil, letter N, Dave. On Facebook.com, it is Facebook.com/Wil and Dave. On iTunes, search for the Wil and Dave Show. You'll find us, you can subscribe, and you can get every episode of the Wil and Dave Show in a nice magical MP4 or MP3 file. It's actually an M4A file, I'll take that back. M4A or MP3 file sent to your inbox every single darn week. Hit it!
I was told this was M4A.
Well done, Mr. Vincent. You are on it today.
We'll do it live! Fuck it!
That's right.
So
Every time in the first minute.
every time. So
I'm telling you, you get this nailed down, that ESPN gig's gonna be yours.
Yeah. So where do we start? Should we start at the beginning? December 17th.
I don't know what that means, to play us out. What does that mean?
December 17th. iRacing announced their first announcement, which was they're going to bring the Holden and with it Commodore to iRacing.
Which was a great announcement. Nice to see another V8 supercar, even more recent version being added to the series. So, that was just the beginning of a lot of announcements.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Oh, yes.
wait.
There is so much more. But we'll talk about this for a moment because, of course, there are a lot of Aussie drivers, there are a lot of New Zealand drivers on iRacing. The V8 series is booming at the moment. Of course, we still got the old spec V8 car. This is going to be a new spec car. Arguably, we might get an update to the car that they have as well. Who knows? But we've had Bathurst recently. We've got a lot of the V8 supercar tracks. iRacing's got a very solid partnership with V8 supercars. You've got the V8 Online series, which is broadcast every week. The V8 is possibly the biggest booming series on iRacing right now.
Yeah, I believe that outside the U.S., the Australia New Zealand club is the most populous club of iRacing. So
are you reading that off the iRacing.com member site?
No, I just remember seeing it in a tweet or something like that.
Bullshit.
What? So I'm not allowed to read? I'm not allowed to read something, remember it, and then say it again when it's relevant?
Randy said that was bullshit.
It's true.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's got a lot of things there, of course. You've got technically a Red Bull partnership. You've got yourself GM with Holden. You've got yourself Red Bull Racing Australia, as I say. You've got 888 Race Engineering. It's a lot of stuff there in one announcement. And it is not going to be the first car, though, that gets released as far as road cars go.
The Germans.
And of course, it wasn't the first car to be released because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, look at this! By the way, it's Christmas. Happy Rough.
Happy Rough. Not only the Rough, but 3 different versions.
3
With
different
the 4th
versions
on the
of
way.
the Rough. Each of them, if you put your finger on it in the wrong direction, it's just going to roll over. But we've got the Rough.
You know
That's
what?
why God invented roll cages.
yeah. Maybe that's the issue.
We got the Rough. They'll get the the little graphics glitch sorted out, and it's going to be a hell of a fun car to race.
What graphics glitch?
Well, where or physics glitch, whatever the heck it is.
Well,
there
is
is
A graphics glitch.
graphics
Okay,
thing.
yeah, technically it is a graphics glitch because the car is upside down, so you're not completely wrong.
Have you seen that video with the upside down car driving around?
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. But
Thank God, because I'm never wrong.
Get
Oh,
Trust the
that was
hell out
really
of here.
that's what I'm saying. That's too high even for BT.
Somebody hit me between the legs with a baseball bat.
Okay. But I mean, 3 different versions of the Rough, and of course now we've got a plethora of GT3 cars, and you've got a great series that you could then have with the Rough, with the McLaren GT3 cars. You know, if you really want to be creative, you might even get away with putting things like the Cadillac in there. And again, the GT side of iRacing, it's kind of taken another leap, and we've had in the last year or so the McLaren and now the Rough. Great for them.
Yeah, they're fun cars to drive, and you know, it just exposes more people to a car in a series that they might not have, you know, really looked at before. And like with the V8 example, I never really paid attention to V8 supercars being in America, but with the recent additions of the cars and the track and everything at Bathurst, I'm definitely paying attention to V8 supercars, and I like what I see.
At the same time, we also got a little track called Auto Club. It's not really a little track, it's 2 miles in length. Now, a lot of people are comparing this immediately to Michigan. However, it isn't Michigan.
Tell them why they're wrong.
It's got 14 degrees of banking, and Michigan has 18 degrees of banking. The transition between the oval and the flat is more severe. It's also bumpy on the back straightaway, and the way the track is paved is slightly different.
Ding, 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 ding.
There we are. And I'm in
There
English,
we
so
are.
I know this. But, I mean, Auto Club, I mean, it's good. And, of course, we've got a night version, which is good as well. And it is actually more of a challenging track than you think because of the, I mean, in both NASCAR and IndyCar, because of the way that you've got to approach it. And you've got a pretty fucking awesome road layout on it as well.
Oh, the infield road course that you're talking about?
Well, I'm not talking about the road course that's 200 miles away somewhere else. I think I'm talking about the one inside.
Okay, because I remember Randy Crossno said that's a pretty cool track. Haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but maybe that'll have to be a hosted session at some point.
Yeah, I think it would be. So those two, I mean, it came out of absolutely nowhere. Normally, iRacing's like, yeah, just to let you know, we're going to give you this, that's this point in this next build, this is what we're working towards. It was literally what? Servers went down, and was it Steve Myers who posted, I'm feeling a little rough or something today?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little rough in California,
Yeah.
I believe is what he tweeted.
And, of course, the iRacing universe, when they're not on the iRacing forums, they're on Twitter and Facebook, so that caused pandemonium. And then there's been other things as well. Now, I'll come to the other 2 tracks in a moment, because, of course, we've got 4 people here who like the IndyCar, and the question was asked over UK tracks, actually. And, of course, there were 4 UK tracks that were signed about a year ago now, which are kind of being bumped down the order repeatedly. For any Brit who's listening, Donington, yes. Mallory Park, maybe. And the other 2, whatever. They're club tracks. They're not really tracks that anyone's going to give 2 shits about. Donington, I barely give a shit about. Mallory Park's a great track, but you know what? I'm not fussed. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to join up to iRacing right now because it's got Mallory Park on it. I'm going to join up to iRacing because it's got things like COTA on it, for fuck's sake, and Bathurst on it. Get your fucking heads out your ass, stop drinking your tea for a moment, go outside, open your eyes, and realise how shit our country is.
Rant over.
Rant over. But that ended up with a very interesting thing with the fact that before we get the Commodore, the DW12 is going to come out.
Yay!
About fucking time.
Finally.
Is this where we get into the gory details?
This is when we get into the gory details. Yes, I have to preface this for legal reasons. These opinions are the opinions only of Will Vincent and do not reflect any official or unofficial opinion or otherwise direction by iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations LLC.
So therefore, you're just saying that you may just speculating.
I'm speculating.
Or pulling something out of your ass.
I'm speculating. I'm piecing things together. Now, as a number of people know, I went to Autosport back in 2012, which takes place in January. And this is the year that iRacing there. I chatted to Sean Tiff, I chatted to Kevin Bobbitt, and I asked a question about the DW12 because you guys fucking asked me to. And it was told it has been signed, it's coming. Then, of course, after that, it never came. And people was like, oh, the DW12 is going to come in 2018, whatever. There was one big thing, Dave, that happened between January 2012 and when iRacing probably wanted to bring out that car. In fact, there was two big things. First one is they completely changed that car after Dan Weldon's death, and they changed a lot on that car. So any data they might or might not have got from Dallara, and I know they didn't get any data because they did post it. They were waiting for data from Dallara. They didn't get that data. But then there was a bigger one, and it's called a little contract between Randy Bernard as president of IndyCar, and yeah, those cunts over at Sim Raceway, which wasn't to bring the car to Sim Raceway, it was to create an IndyCar game. Now, when you sign a license, create an IndyCar game, guess what? You're probably going to have some form of exclusivity clause in it.
And there goes iRacing getting the DW12 at any point in that specified period, probably, correct?
Yeah. So, Sim Raceway was supposed to bring out an IndyCar game last October. Have you seen a proper IndyCar game?
Nope.
No?
I saw an R-Factor mod.
Yeah? I mean, of course, that's unofficial. But
yep,
didn't see any IndyCar game on Sim Raceway. Of course, IndyCar is on Sim Raceway. It handles like shit. They have 12 people running their Indy 500 and Liam Jenkins commentating it.
And they have
nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
And they have the road aero kit on the Indy Motor Speedway oval.
Fail.
Yeah.
How many fails can you have in one go? But that contract was signed with Randy Bernard and IndyCar. And let's be fair, there were some people that backed up Randy Bernard. And I think in the last year or so, as you go down and look at some of the things that were done, I mean, on one hand, Turbo, might have been a positive because you had kids talking about IndyCar in Indianapolis. I think that was a good thing. The game never came out. Now, if you're going to talk about exclusivity, generally you look at certain things. There's two things that normally come into mind. Either A, when the game's released, afterwards people can start working on competition, or a year. What was announced in October 2013, Dave?
Oh, I've got something for this.
Yeah, somebody fill me in.
We would have accepted Bow Wow or Rough.
Oh, Rough, just the way your mother likes it, Trebell.
It was announced on the IndyCar forums, yes, we have got the DW12 signed. We are going to start working on it. Which, for some reason, was surprisingly enough exactly a year after Sim Raceway Ignite Game Technologies was supposed to release an IndyCar game. Piece it together, iRacing couldn't bring out the DW12 because IndyCar were acting like faggots. There you are. There's your pipe bomb.
Wow. You know what?
Or their legal department.
That was pretty well put together. I'm impressed.
Let's say, all that speculation is true, and it's just speculation, Will Vincent's opinion. How stupid is IndyCar? They're in a position where they need every fan they can get. They need all the exposure they can get, and they sign a deal that it makes their vehicle exclusive to one game that never came out instead of potentially 50,000 iRacing members?
Well, yeah, and there is someone who's probably going to post this on YouTube, but wait a minute, Forza 5 has an IndyCar in it as well. When did Forza 5 come out?
After that date, I know that much.
After the October cutoff. And also, I don't think that Forza mentioned it until the October cutoff as well. But you're completely right. Now, NASCAR, they license things to iRacing, they license things to NASCAR the game. Yes, you control your license to a degree, the same way that F1 wants to have the official F1 game. NASCAR wants to have the official NASCAR game. But you license the products elsewhere. For example, you had NASCAR and GT5. Now, the demo I tried of NASCAR in Gran Turismo 5, they forgot to put a restrictor plate on it, so I was doing 230 miles an hour at Daytona. But still,
awesome.
That was legendary.
Got the car and the track on the game, and there are people who would otherwise only be driving road courses who think, oh, hi, what's this? This is pretty fun. I might go and watch this.
And that's exactly the point, and that's the boat that IndyCar missed by signing an exclusive contract with a game that never came out, allegedly.
Allegedly. And again, there have been many failures in IndyCar for the last 3 or 4 years. It's probably another podcast. We can talk exclusively about that. But that is, as far as, that is my, gory details as far as the DW12 is concerned. The next question is going to be, can it happen before May? Possibly. I mean, if you have a look at the... okay. And there's another thing on this bit as well. Every car, with the exception of the Lotus 49, the production's not been that slow on it at all. They announce it, it gets released. The Lotus 49, I think people forget, if you read the blogs, if you read all the updates from the iRacing staff, I think that a lot of production was pushed back because of Lotus 49, and now I think we can get back to having one car per build.
Well, didn't iRacing also say that with the DW12 would come out before the Holden, and they're calling for that car to come out in the summertime?
In time for Bathurst, at the very least. So
okay, so you're looking at the
we're
DW.
On track.
Yeah, so you're on track to having it before that, hopefully. Yeah. Fingers crossed, maybe.
Hopefully the Season 2 build. That's what I would think.
Yep. And
what it's scheduled for.
And of course, we've got our car, which is scheduled for the January build, and that's a Super Late model. On top of the car, which possibly, let's be honest, could have maybe just been put into the January build, which is the rough. So we've got, 2 cars coming out, one on oval, one on road, in the space of a couple of months. So that production window, there aren't actually any... Well, okay, there are a couple of cars, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. The IndyCar is the next big car to come out in that time frame now.
Yeah, I don't think there are any bigger cars than that are.
No, there's a BMW coming up.
Yeah, but the BMW.
But they're just now getting data.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but it's scheduled to be running by the summer because they have one of the Road Warrior events is coming up around then.
That is a good point.
True.
And of course.
2 cars to build?
Yeah, possible.
What's that?
I mean, we've seen more than one car come out before, haven't we? In a build?
Yeah.
So we just saw 3.
Yeah, why not?
Who's to say that iRacing hasn't really been kind of building the DW12 a little bit, but not really saying anything about it?
They said they were doing sound capture when they were doing all that testing, and then they said that they were getting all the CAD stuff delivered to them.
Yeah, so, I mean, of course, they've got to be able to translate from Italian to English, which could take a while.
So right now, here's the list from iRacing themselves. They got the BMW 1 Series and GTC. They said that's signed. The BMW E92 M3, BMW Z4, the Chevy Camaro Nationwide, who gives a shit, Holden VF Commodore, the Honda HSV 010. They said that one's probably dead in the water because they're not able to get any data. Honda Civic and GTC. IndyCar, DW12, obviously. The Rough CTR 3, which I think that's coming out early next year. That's a 4-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive, I should say. And then the super late model, so people can stop bitching about short tracks. We need short tracks, please.
I really wish we would get the British touring car and Super GT Hondas. That's another whole area of racing that a lot of people don't know about.
I remember when I first started getting into racing games before iRacing, I got into Grid, and I loved driving those little touring cars.
Yeah, but again, you've got to have 2 things at once, I think, there. And the tracks that are announced alongside that were the Mallory Parks, the Donington Parks, etc., etc. So I think that the car, I think, perhaps might be on the back burner in the same way some of those tracks are on the back burner. So maybe early 2015 for them.
Hopefully.
But again, they will be incredibly fun to drive. Of course, as soon as that car came out, we were all thinking, well, what the 4X was going to be on that? Because part of WTCC is Yeah, okay. You're going to block me? Oh, look at that. I've just pushed you off the road.
It's basically the UK's version of short track racing.
Yeah, it really is. And if you watch a BTCC race, we get it on ITV4 over here. It's get some popcorn. Look at Jason Plato bitching and moaning, and other people just, you know, throwing, well, okay, I can get around this corner ahead of you. I'm just going to push you off the racetrack first, but it will happen. So, that, of course, is what's coming up, especially with IndyCar. But then we had not one, but two announcements, sticking with the Italiano theme, when I think the first one of them, it rocked iRacing in a big, big, big way. The Autodromo Nazionale Monza being announced in iRacing. And then, of course, within 24 hours, the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, or Imola, was announced. So, two huge, huge tracks from Italy there.
Yeah, iRacing is really, in the span of 3 or 4 days, it really just jumped all over it and given members a lot of hope, because I think, in my opinion, got a little stale. You know, just kind of teetering along. You got the, you know, Kia comes out, and not a lot of excitement, but all of a sudden,
what a great car!
Yeah, we know how popular that car is. In the matter of a week, you got all the NASCAR tracks scanned and raceable in the sim. You've got the rough 3 different versions, and then you've got DW12 coming out, hopefully, fingers crossed. You got the Holden Commodore, and then you've got 2 great Formula One, you know, Italian tracks. I mean,
and GT.
And GT. So, guys, are they stepping it up because AC's out and they're kind of feeling a little pressure?
I don't think
Would you like me to give you another gory detail?
Market.
Yes.
Let's go into gory detail, shall we? As far as AC goes, of course, one of their biggest tracks was Monza. And officially licensed products, as far as iRacing goes, you read back about a year ago, and the talks were it's not happening. Now, how long has Assetto Corsa been in actual production? What, a month? And all of a sudden iRacing's allowed to sign Monza? Let's think about that one in a bit more detail. Assetto Corsa, they get the rights, and I think on the Assetto Corsa deal, it was, okay, Italian company helping out an Italian company. We won't allow anyone to come out and scan that track, do anything of that track, to give you a head start until you release the track. Why? Because if you get a big powerhouse to come and, you know, take over and scan everything, it would preempt an Assetto Corsa launch. And let's not forget, Assetto Corsa is tiny in comparison to iRacing, and iRacing, of course, is tiny in comparison to the buying power and the amount of power that people have to produce stuff in other sims and games. So, Assetto Corsa, yeah, I think they got first bite of the cherry there, in both circumstances, and all those tracks are out. I think the tracks are thinking, okay, we've helped you out, we've helped you launch your game by having the exclusive rights to those tracks. Fair game. Everyone else can come now, because Assetto Corsa still has at least 6 months, in my opinion. 6 months, at least, of exclusivity. Because that's going to be the time, if iRacing push it, it will take them to get that car, those tracks out.
And I think they can do it, because we found out also this week that Circuit of the Americas is coming out in the spring as well. And they didn't scan that long ago. I think they were there for the LMS WEC doubleheader weekend.
So it was back in like September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, it's slightly different for COTA, because it's an American track. They can take everything they have.
Fuck yeah.
Imola Monza is slightly more difficult because, I don't know, there's things called planes and lugging stuff over. And then they've got, again, a finite window of when they can do it. So you've got select opportunities, but you've then also got to bear in mind the fact that it is a big journey from America to get all the engineers out to do that. And I don't know whether iRacing have to down tools with certain departments when they do that. I don't know. It's one of those things that only iRacing themselves can confirm how operationally it's really going to work. But I think it's going to be more along the lines of the amount of time it took for Bathurst from announcement to release than it was for COTA. I think COTA's a bit of a special opportunity, really, for iRacing.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, that's a track that they're going to want to get out as fast as possible, being that it's the premier Formula One track in the country, and they've got it. They're going to want to put that out as soon as possible.
But
plus, it's great. We get another F1 track finally.
Woo! Which means that we don't have to run Bathurst in next year's WCS.
Now, if we could do something with that horrible Williams.
Well, yeah, and I think that's one of the things now that, especially after the DW12 comes out, because it'll have to be in the NTM V5, otherwise they're just going backwards, that people is going to need. And the Williams deal, as far as I've always understood, it's been a bit weird with iRacing. For example, you can't have sponsors on that car. You go to try and select a sponsor, and it looks at you and thinks, nope, you'll have one colour. One colour car. There you are.
You can have one colour or the Williams livery, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you have.
So I think there's been a bit of a weird relationship with that. And, of course, you're entering a very secretive world with F1, because unlike the spec racing that you have in NASCAR, and you have in IndyCar, and you have in other spec series around the world, everything, and I mean everything in an F1 car, is designed from the ground up. And I'm sure there is some incinerator somewhere where as soon as they finish making the parts, it gets burned to the ground.
Yeah, I was surprised that iRacing got the Williams when it did, because, I mean, it was still a fairly newer car when they scanned it. So
yeah.
I'm sure there were a lot of contracts signed that, none of that information was ever going to get out to anybody. Not that anybody would really want to rip anything off the Williams anyway.
Well, let's be honest,
It was a horrible car that year.
It was. And, you could almost argue that the iRacing car does drive like the Williams, because it drives like a piece of shit at times. But what car could they really... They're never going to get a Red Bull. They're never, ever, 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 ever going to get a Ferrari. They're never going to go and get themselves, a McLaren.
McLaren?
Yeah, they might
They might.
They might get McLaren. Well, they've got, of course, that relationship with the GT3 car. Perhaps McLaren. Perhaps in a very quasi-retarded way, they might get a Lotus. I mean, Lotus needs some money right now, let's be honest. But realistically, you're looking at something like a Sauber. And, of course, it was Sauber that did that deal with R-Factor when R-Factor came out.
They need to go scan a turbo monster like Senna drove in the late 80s.
Yeah.
You gotta take your hand off the wheel to shift and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. I mean, at the same time, if we're going to go down that route, can we go and get ourselves a 95 Menard, please?
Oh, that'd be another great one.
And then afterwards, can we go and get ourselves a 1980, NASCAR?
Continue.
And then can we go and get ourselves a silk cut Jaguar from the 1990s, 1980s, 1990s, or that Toyota?
As long as we can get ourselves a 1997 Toyota Corolla.
Oh, yes.
Sweetness.
Well, I mean, we've got to be more diverse. Can we not go and get ourselves one of, like, the East Bloc communist cars that would only do 30 miles an hour?
A Yugo?
Oh, man.
Then put that on
throw them on the figure 8 for Irwindale.
Yeah.
I would like to see any of the following cars: a 1990 Oldsmobile, a 96 Ford 4-door, or, maybe a 99 Pontiac 2-door. I mean, those could be
boats.
Those could be fun for the Irwindale figure 8 track.
Well, yeah.
Scan a bus.
You could cause $5,000 in damage pretty quick with those.
Good. Oh, wait. John Porzak's here.
Hey!
Let's scan him. Oh, no, we'll have to get that Pontiac Aztec scan.
Oh,
yes. With the tent.
That is one sweet car. Let me tell you what, Andrew King.
That ain't no car. That's a sports utility vehicle.
That's a sex wagon.
That car is sex on legs. Simple as that.
That's the quote. That's the quote of the show. The sex wagon.
Pussy wagon.
So, I mean, let's talk about AC
Play
a
the
little
porn
bit.
music.
Do I have to? There we are.
No.
There you go.
I can fade this out.
Pontiac Aztec.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
In the tent.
There we are.
Oh, of course.
So I was halfway through thinking. So, we were going to talk about Assetto Corsa actually a little bit, because it's been that big argument: which is better, Assetto Corsa or iRacing? I'm going to be honest. Assetto Corsa, yes, what they've got remarkably well. However, I'd like to race with you, Dave, on the same track, please. And I'd like to get some other people to race. You might have similar, standards of driving as me.
Let's be honest, before we have this conversation, how many guys in this room have actually driven that game yet?
No.
Yep.
Haven't.
A little
Only
bit.
driven your mom.
Oh.
Okay.
In the Pontiac
That
Aztec.
being said,
In the Pontiac Aztec. Let it be said, it was in a Pontiac Aztec.
Fantastic. That being said, Will, Chin, should I go out and buy Assetto Corsa right now? It's on sale on Steam.
It is.
Yes.
29 something.
$29.99.
By the way, for those of you who are wondering
You didn't answer my question,
car we're
Will.
looking at, that is the car. I've just put it on the stream, and it's 3, 2, 1, gone. Yeah, go and buy it.
You might as well post a Pontiac Le Mans while you're at it.
Oh, God.
They have a McLaren.
I had a family member that owned one of those.
Yeah, so let's talk about Assetto Corsa, because what they've done, Chin, you've driven it, they have done it incredibly well.
Yes.
What do you mean by well?
For being in alpha state right now, it's amazing. There's so much polishing to be done, but it still is a great game. It looks really good. It drives really nicely, and you don't feel like you're going to die every time you enter a corner.
Now,
But should you?
let's compare Assetto Corsa, where it is right now, to R Factor 2, when it was at that stage. Assetto Corsa trumps it by a country mile. There you are. And R Factor 2, I think, has lost out dramatically in the fact that it's not really delivered on any of its promises, Chin.
Oh, it definitely hasn't. A couple of months ago, I bought it, and I just kind of said, this isn't fun, and I got a refund for it, which I'm glad they have, but otherwise, it's really not that fun to play R Factor 2 right now, mainly because the modding support isn't fully there, and the mod groups are still kind of figuring out, are we going to R Factor 2, are we going to Assetto Corsa, are we staying R Factor? It's kind of up in the air for a lot of groups.
Yeah, and I think, that Assetto Corsa, and there's always been that argument, what market is Assetto Corsa going to take? You're going to say, realistically, it's taking R Factor's market, if anything, because iRacing is a slightly different product to R Factor, to Assetto Corsa, because you buy AC, you buy R Factor, and then you find a way of playing with people. iRacing's model is slightly different, where you subscribe, and it's an all-in-one service, which I'm not sure whether AC are planning that or not.
I think there's a bigger dichotomy than that in terms of who they're marketing this game to. There aren't going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, when are there going to be ovals in Assetto Corsa? That is where iRacing is the premier sim for sim racing. It's this big chunk of guys who want to do primarily oval racing. And me, as an oval-centric guy, I haven't had the interest to even try Assetto Corsa yet because I don't want to be driving the illustrious European sports car on the generic Euro ring whatever.
Yeah, I think a lot of the oval side stuff isn't really going to be there until later on, if it even is. Because I'm sure modders will try and get it going, but I don't know if it's going to have that same R Factor problem where it just doesn't drive right.
Just doesn't work. That was always the problem with ovals on the original R Factor, is it just never felt right.
Yeah.
But right now, I think iRacing has the opposite problem. I think it sort of is an oval-centric sim, and you've got the oval tires on the road cars, and I think that's where there's sort of this dividing line between these sims at the moment.
Yeah, and I said this a couple of episodes ago. The NTM V4 was holistically an oval tire. You go back, you have a look at the development of it, you have a look at the blogs about it. It was pretty much a tyre designed for NASCAR. The NTM V5 isn't a tyre designed for NASCAR. You look at the cars they've rolled it out on, I think that they designed the NTM V5 to be adaptable from car to car. And I think it's more of a base, whereas the NTM V4 was a lift and plonk approach, which I'm sure Eric Haydeck, if he's listening to this, which he probably isn't, is probably going to slaughter me for saying. But that is the harshest of realities, Dave, for the NTM V4.
Yeah, I mean, you have it like John was saying, you have an oval-centric sim, so kind of falls in the line that the tire would be oval-centric. But, it's a work in progress, and I've liked what I've, felt and seen with the NT, MV5, so it's an evolution. We just gotta, it's never going to be perfect, but it's always going to hopefully get better.
I have to interrupt you for a moment, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go into a slight diversion. Apparently, Texas isn't the track which sucks on the IndyCar. It's Richmond which sucks on the IndyCar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just confirmed.
Oh, my.
I know. Just confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you did.
Well, did you know that you can easily pass on the outside at Texas? That's why it's clearly the superior track.
Yeah, I mean, I pass on the outside at Texas every single time I'm in a race there. In fact, I make all my passes on the outside at Texas. And, you know, it's all that's ever been done there. Bullshit. Grow up. It's bullshit. Stop talking out of your fucking ass and actually open your eyes. Moving on.
You play Mario Kart.
Hey, can we discuss merging Afterburn and Velociraptor?
Oh my god.
I want to merge inside you.
Whoa.
That's rape.
Yeah. I see that we've moved on to the bitching about people segment of the show as soon as I show up.
Oh, Andrew, you know what that means. I know you wanted it.
Bow wow or rough?
Oh, rough. Just the way your mother likes it, Trebek.
Guys, was the question that was posed of merging Velociraptor and Afterburn just straight up trolling, or is that just ignorance?
Did you see how old?
I think ignorance.
It is.
I think it's ignorance.
It's got to be trolling because they don't exist anymore.
You would
Afterburn
think.
was this silly little collection of people that died a long time ago. Nobody cares about it. He was like 10 years old when Team Afterburn existed.
Yeah, but usually if you're trolling, you're throwing a few rolly eyes or a gif or something. It was just a straight up question.
It was, yeah, that was the case of obvious troll. It's obvious, though. Right, we'll go back to our...
Wait. Will, I think you should accept his proposal.
Ooh. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. This is some background stuff that's happening out in public. Will Vincent, what do you say?
Can I be team captain?
Sure, do whatever you want with Team Afterburn.
Yay.
Off you go. Bye! We'll go back to the important issues. So, AC, I think, is a very promising product. The biggest issue for me is what's going to happen when you have to make it massively multiplayer. And it's sometimes a thing that can... And it's what defines a good game to a great game, or in this case, a good sim to a great sim. I think it's how they perform on a massively multiplayer level. And, of course, one of the things of iRacing, let's not forget, is the fact that you have things like the sporting code, for example, which people might have their qualms about the sporting code. It acts so you have a mediocre of respect. I mean, it can be very low in some cases, but people have a mediocre of respect. Yes,
that's not a word. That is not a word.
Google it, bitch.
It's modicum.
There's no way that's a thing.
Well, I'm going to have to go with the lawyer on this one.
Well, you know, he's an American lawyer, which means he's stupid.
Ring the bell, Andrew.
Andrew can't find that one on his soundboard.
Damn it, he's late again.
Yeah. God.
Why is he even here?
I don't know.
We have 2 retarded soundboard operators.
Or did he go and take a Will Vincent piss break?
He's not even here.
I know, I think he's actually just gone. But
that wait. That is a good point though, Will, or Chin, you can answer too. What is being contemplated by AC to prevent people from going in there and just acting like complete fools? Is there a protest system? Is there going to be like an equivalent of SR? Is there anything like that?
For public racing, no. It's all whatever. It's going to be a lot of leagues and stuff like that AC is really catering to. And I think the pickup races, you can't beat iRacing for that. It's going to be like R Factor was, where you get in a McGain race and you just get flipped over before you can get to turn 1 on the start.
Yeah, it's just a case of, I'm playing on my keyboard and I don't know which button's the brake.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that is one of the things about iRacing, which I do love, by the way. You can't actually just use a keyboard to drive. You know, that's a good thing.
I'm surprised by that, based on what I've seen on track.
Yeah, you can't use a keyboard. You can't map the throttle to a button. You can't map the brake to a button. You have to have some form of, device. Yes, of course, you can use a touchpad. You can use a fucking Android device, I think, or one of the two to drive iRacing on now. One of those Intel touch wavy things. But I think the baseline requirement for iRacing puts it at a level that you have to invest in the product, and I think that defines it as something where, you know, yes, you have 5% of the member base who are just going to go and fuck about, but 95% play by some degree of rules. And for Assetto Corsa, let's not forget, there are some great leagues that's been run on our Factor Chin over the years, and there will be some amazing leagues that run on AC. But it then comes down to things like lag and netcode, and how does it support and operate things like servers. I think nowadays iRacers take the idea of being able to set up a session and have a race very, very lightly almost.
Yeah, it's not like when you drive any other sim where you have to set up a server and do all that on your own. iRacing, you just click a couple of buttons, you got a hosted session, you can do whatever you want. Any other sim, you have to set up the server, you have to make sure track's loaded on, the mod, the setup, all that.
And also you've got the cheating option as well that did exist. It's not as bad in our Factor these days as it used to be, but it's still technically, I mean, I can cheat on our Factor very, very easily if I'm in an unprotected league. And AC, they've got to figure out, you know, is it possible for people to manipulate the code so that they can gain an advantage? And that's one of those things as well that you don't really hear about cheating on iRacing. And if iRacing got...
I don't know. How do you think Dave Judson won that VIX championship?
Well, yeah.
Whoa.
I didn't cheat. I just wrecked everybody out.
Yeah, true story that. But, you know, on a serious note, that's one of the things with AC that they've got to make sure. It's those fine details that keep the, if I'm going to talk in a marketing way, keep that customer experience going up. Someone talk, please.
You have to take a piss break?
Yeah.
Oh, I promised. No, well, yeah, we were talking to you earlier.
King. Sorry, I had a phone call.
Oh, excuses.
It was work related. Sorry.
You know, for Mitch McCracken said that he would not listen to the show unless we talked about Pokemon. So here it goes. Snorlax.
Wait. I thought he wasn't going to appear on the show unless we talked about.
No, he said he won't listen to the show unless we talk about
that guy. He's such a fucking Charmander.
He's got so many demands for a guy who doesn't even race the IndyCar series anymore.
Snorlax
won't even appear on TeamSpeak.
Well, you know, rumor has it he's going to reappear when the DW12 comes.
What, is he going to, like, reincarnate or something, like a Hindu?
Well, he is a member of Jesus and Friends, so that is very well possible.
Yeah.
Although I've heard that Jesus and Friends has been absorbed into something else.
We're not ready to announce that yet.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Beans spilled everywhere. You heard it here first.
Oh, Lord.
Heard what here? I didn't hear any details.
Blah, 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 blah.
Gory details.
Yes, gory details.
Hey, guys.
It'll be gory, all right.
Judson's afternoon right now.
Hey,
yes. Andrew, yes.
Hey.
So remember, like 3 or 4 or 5 episodes ago when you guys were talking about keeping the language clean so you wouldn't get booted off of iTunes?
Well, there was that.
No. We weren't allowed to be sexually explicit.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Oh, but you can be racist.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure.
I'm
pretty sure that in the 5 minutes
iTunes.
I've been here, Andrew King has already said many sexual things.
I was gonna say that that was Will Vincent's song, but he's only 50%.
And want to take your shirt off? That'd be just fine.
I'd rather not.
Well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
So have you guys done your awards show yet?
No, we haven't, because we never really got the chance to talk about it. Dave kind of turned up about 20 minutes before we started.
All right, don't blame this on me.
I
quote.
Here, just throw me under the bus.
No.
Andrew,
I quote, FYI, Will Vincent, FYI, 2 hours on Friday. I've got it all structured, though. It'll be fine.
Yeah?
Your call, Will. So,
I think we need to play a certain clip here, Mr. King, by a Mr. Bill O'Reilly.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
There we go. Okay.
I don't know what that means to play us out. What does that mean?
We haven't had enough Andreas Stratman.
Who is the forum poster of the year for iRacing?
Me.
It's just unbelievable what is going on iRacing with IndyCar.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you've got a number of people, actually. Of course, you have the guy who makes a poll about everything.
Nope.
Although he hasn't been. Yeah, he's not.
He's
been
gone
for a while though. Yeah.
He's gone.
He's gone.
He gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
You had the guy the other day who just decided that he was going to bump every single thread from 2010.
That was a good one. Although I think he's been given a vacation for that. I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you be given a vacation for just bumping threads?
Well, when you do it in an obviously trolling manner, I think you kind of draw a lot of attention.
Nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Well, I think then after that we kind of are limiting ourselves a little bit. I mean, I don't actually visit the NASCAR forums that much, so I don't know how bad they are.
Nothing good
and
goes
don't
on
count
there.
people who are serial GIF posters.
Yeah.
Oh, we're out.
Those guys are badasses.
Yeah.
We need a new thread.
Oh, wait,
I don't know. I'll be honest here. I like reading the general forums. They're pretty entertaining. So you see a lot of good stuff by Bob Kern, and then when he got banned, suddenly I think his quote-unquote brother showed up. So there's been a really good
his brother Robert.
There was some great stuff there.
So there's been a good continuation, but I think my personal vote for my favorite forum and my favorite poster on that forum is the complaints forum. And when you read those posts by Lauren Doolittle, that is just great.
Oh my God!
If you want to find a good way to spend some hours, just read those posts on the complaint forum, and it's just absolutely fantastic. So that's my vote.
They're gold.
Here's a Lauren Doolittle gold. Cannot download updates, cannot access service. So the download became an error, and now I am unable to access the service. Was that really worthy of a post?
Yes.
You know what? It is to some people, apparently, and good on him for keeping us all in line and whatever he's doing.
Good SR ran every once in a while doesn't kill you.
Well, what episode were we in where you had me read something from the complaints forum and I went absolutely bonkers? Do you remember that?
I think 3.
5.
I can't read this crap. It just drives me insane. I don't like the weather changes. My computer doesn't work right. Why doesn't iRacing do this and that and the other thing? If you don't like it, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Of course, when we're talking about forum posts, it could be, you know, the 9,867th person that asks about either dirt or the Nürburgring.
iRacing would have gotten.
Maybe we just need to ask the one thing. Can't we have the Nürburgring on dirt?
Yes.
But guys, really, has anyone really been far even as decided to use even go want to do look more like?
Fantastic.
Did I have a stroke?
Fantastic.
Wait, play the stroke clip.
Well, a very, very heavy divertation tonight. We had a very Darrison, but let's go to Terrace and for the head of the pit.
Oh no, everyone! Salma Ladak's cancelled his party.
What? No more
okay,
goes?
Salma Ladak is the poster of the year.
I was gonna say Justin Petschauer's a close second.
Quiet. He's been fairly quiet this last year.
Yeah, but
I
that's
think
only because there's been less World Tour races than previously.
But Will,
that's true.
But Will.
Yes.
Can we move?
This is unbelievable what is going on iRacing. This is unbelievable, really unbelievable. What better you play Mario Kart. And the better driver goes in front. Not the lucky driver. And the better driver goes in front. It's unbelievable, really unbelievable what you do.
That was unbelievable. Can we segue to the next topic? The next
Justin Petschauer, if you're listening, join the show. We need you.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, no. Let's be fair. If it wasn't for Justin Petschauer, I wouldn't have my daily dose of going on in motorsport.
Daily deuce.
Wait, you take a daily deuce while reading the
daily
forums?
Deuce.
Yes.
More than I needed to know.
So, okay, basically our nominees are Salma Ladak, Justin Petschauer, Brandon Trost, and Lauren Doolittle.
I'm already in for Doolittle.
You gotta...
Doolittle. By far and away.
Well, he says Doolittle, but he actually complains when people do little, and he does a lot.
Will, that's not a vote. Will, we need your vote.
Doolittle wins it.
Yeah, Doolittle wins.
Fantastic. All right, moving on to the next category.
Hold on. I mean, what's the context?
It's already. No, you've been.
No, it's already been decided.
We're moving on.
We gotta
all
have the
IndyCar
meltdown.
guys here. we're all IndyCar guys here. Who is the fixed racer of the year for the IndyCar series?
I haven't done a fixed race the whole year.
Is this a legitimate question or
this is a legitimate question because we had a lot of very competitive guys over the last year. We had Mr. Dave Judson with a dominant championship. We've had Matt Cook. We've seen Young O even hop into some races and win. Ron Myers running really well.
Start of the year.
So
Petchar's there.
So what do you think? I'm going to vote for my buddy Dave Judson for the fixed iRacer whatever of the year.
There we are. I don't know. It's a toss-up for me between Dave and Matt.
Well, we've got Andreas too.
Well, yes. Are you ready, Andy? 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Hello.
Hit the button.
What button?
You're so
German
bad
button.
This, Andrew.
Wow.
So, I missed it. Sorry.
We have no good soundboards at all.
Bunch of
That is unbelievable.
John Goke, you're a crash driver.
Oh, that was a really good interview. I was really happy that you guys got like a celebrity on this show for one of these episodes. That was fun.
I had to mute my mic so I wouldn't be laughing over the interview when Goke and Stratman got into it.
Ditto.
Well, he was kind of right.
Who?
Stratman? I mean, I like Goke, but he is a little bit of a crash driver.
He's a bit aggressive, shall we say?
Where's Pet Shower?
Does he not know the Banshee one?
I don't think he does. That could be it. I'm just gonna go head over.
No, whoa. Are we really giving out this team speak information for...
No.
That was resounding nope.
Unbearable, you goddamn fool-ass motherfucker.
Oh,
next Coors Light he drinks is gonna be his last.
See you guys later. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Love you. Bye,
Andrew.
So, I guess.
We're not going to miss him at all. We're just going to go, Andrew, play something on the sideboard, and nothing will happen, just like the entire show.
So,
Andrew,
really,
we've got
3 people. Our nominees are Andreas Straitman, Matt Cook, and that fucker over there, Dave Judson.
Hello, Judson. What do you got for me?
I want to be inside you.
Yes.
Goodbye, good sir.
That's a nice muscly throwing on you got there.
Okay, what's the next category?
This got a lot more rapey.
What? I'm 100% nigga.
Did we actually decide who the winner of the last category was?
Yeah, Judson.
I think we just decided a tie.
You're pretty amazing.
Oh my God, it's Ryan Murray.
Oh my God.
So, next category, I don't know. Okay, there's 2 actually. iRacing.
Spectator rating of the year.
No. I wanted to do 2. I wanted to do Heartbreak of the year, and I think this one's very easy. It's between Nicholas Morse, 2013, iRacing.com Daytona 500, and Alexia Loma.
Aloma wins hands down.
Alexi.
Yeah.
Aloma wins hands down.
Yeah, Alexia Loma.
Alexi. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we actually just explain to the viewers what happened?
Yeah, go ahead, Will.
So, it was a 2013 iRacing.com Indianapolis 500, powered by PSR TV.
Wait. Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Who led the most laps in that race?
You did.
Fantastic. Okay, continue.
And it was Alexia Loma leading. It had Brody Kostecki in second place. And then 3 laps to go, Alexi disappears, and he kind of like... The car freezes, and it stops, and he carries on. But he's half a lap down. And Ryan Norton, if you're listening to this, I know I love you, but your boy would not have won. Alexi is a better driver as far as the IndyCar goes as Brody Kostecki. Sorry to have burst your fucking bubble. He was the better driver on the day, and he would have won the race.
I mean,
completely agree, 100%.
That's got to be the heartbreak of the year, though, because that is the single race for the IndyCar guys, and for our community, it is the entire focus. The NASCAR guys have a lot of stuff going on throughout the year, but there's so much attention on the Indy 500 that there's just nobody has had a bigger misfortune in a bigger stage than that this year.
Not only that, you're not just gifted into that race by having a high I rating. You got to earn it. You got to qualify in there.
Okay, controversy of the year, therefore, is the fact that we had 4-lap average qualifying for Pocono. You're welcome.
No controversy there.
That is not the controversy of the year.
What is the controversy of the year?
Well, just because one mental defective thinks it's a controversy doesn't mean it actually is one.
Well, yeah, that's
one counter argument doesn't make a controversy. What is the controversy of the year?
I don't know.
The Lotus 49 handling.
Yeah.
Driver speaks.
Wait,
yes.
What's controversial about it?
How everybody, when it was released, just seemed to either admit that it was ultra realistic, that that's how a car with hard tires and no downforce handled, or that it was unrealistic and the iRacing tire model wasn't up to par, even though they touted it, heavily.
I feel like that I wouldn't vote for that as the controversy of the year because we are all idiots. We are all idiots when it comes to how the Lotus 49 should actually handle. So it's really a lot of people with opinions yelling at each other.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Setup stealing with the crew spotter glitch.
Yeah.
The spotter glitch in general, actually. Because that affected DWC earlier in the year, too.
I'm going to have to mute you guys for 1 second. I've got Justin Petschauer over on the other team speak, so I need to go and talk to him.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're probably the setup stealing stuff was definitely up there.
Yeah, Josh.
By the way, you'll be pleased to know that I successfully removed Justin Petschauer from the server.
How did it affect the World Championship earlier in the year, like you were saying, Josh? How did that spotter thing affect it?
At Richmond, someone got into Brian Schoenberg's spotter and was able to mess around with his settings for a pit stop.
Oh.
So he had jacked up tire pressures, the wedge was screwed up, I think, just all kinds of things.
Oh, wow.
And the driver that got into his spotter was subsequently DQ'd from DWC after that.
Well, but of course there is one other controversy, and that was the loser incident.
Oh, yes.
The what?
The Ben Cornette and Darren Ganji thing?
Again,
yeah.
Yeah. There were a couple this year that I think could win.
It's a big one. Well, of course, the loser one wasn't really a controversy because that it wasn't the way that people said it was. So that really is a non-controversy. It was actually more controversial in the way that people made it out to be than what it actually was in the first place. The Lotus 49, I say, in my opinion, it's more arguably the disappointment of the year, how iRacers didn't take onto that car, even though iRacing, they publicised it, and they wanted it to be a deal-breaker for people. And it just didn't work out for them. And then, of course, you've got Ganji and Cornette. Ganji, man up if you haven't actually bothered to do that race yet. He's getting sick and tired of, having to think about the fact that Cornette's a better driver than you because he can actually bother to find his way to the racetrack in the first place. And then you've got, the ones that we have left over. So it's Bottas or whatever else.
I've got a question about the whole Darren Ganji thing. Why did it become such a major iRacing news story about that whole incident? Because we sit on here and trash guys left and right, but yet Darren Ganji says one slightly off-color thing, and everyone's all over him.
It's because of where he did it. If you're going to use Inside Sim Racing to bash a WCS driver, you're going to have to back it up.
Yeah, we're a bunch of nobodies, John.
Fair enough.
Apparently, we haven't mentioned Sim Fairway yet in the podcast. Justin Petschauer, rewind about 45 minutes, bitch.
It's in there.
See, I mean, Will right now is going off on Petschauer. If Darren Ganji had said anything like that, it would have been like the apocalypse on the general discussion forum.
But this is Inside Sim Racing. Let's not forget, ISR have that partnership with iRacing, and they promote races for iRacing every year. And you're calling out a WCS driver, calling him mediocre at best. Back it up.
Yeah, that's probably the foot and mouth saga of the year.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I go for that for the winner, though, just because of how many people know about it.
Yeah.
Popularity wins.
Yeah, popularity always wins in that stuff. We've got to do the most popular driver in IndyCar right now.
Most popular driver
right now?
As in liked? Or just general popularity?
I don't know. Most liked driver, most popular driver, most popular driver, most liked driver.
Most liked Matt Cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. We should just grab Matt Cook and drag him down here for this conversation. He'd be so embarrassed.
He's testing for the 1,000th time at Indy for 16th Street, so pull him in here and what's surprise him?
Yeah. Congratulations, Matt Cook.
Matt Cook.
You're officially the Wil and Dave Show award winner for the most liked driver in IndyCar.
Sweet.
In-depth interview.
You know, Matt is a deserving guy, though, because I think he puts in more work than really anybody else in the IndyCar series.
Agreed.
Matt, how many laps is it this week?
I lost count.
After
over
how
1,000.
many?
Are you down to a 15 flat yet?
No.
Uh-oh. That'll be interesting on Sunday.
Oh, no.
Ryan's like, I have a shot for second.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to catch Josh, but I'll be able to beat Matt.
That's fine by me.
I'm just kidding.
Most popular driver. So it's a slightly different one there. Is the most popular driver, should it have another title to it?
I don't know that there's any one driver that's going to be more popular than anybody else in that series.
Well, I'll put four. Okay. Most well-known driver.
Andreas
Straitman, Brandon Trost, and of course you got to put CCM in that list.
It's Andreas. Andreas is by far the clear winner. We don't even have to talk about it.
Didn't I win?
No, sorry, you don't.
I make the most forum posts.
It's just unbelievable what is going on iRacing with IndyCar.
We need to make like little virtual statues or something to give away for these awards.
I want a trophy.
No. Okay. we'll do another one then, shall we? Best use of the push to talk button.
Strabon. Go ahead and play mode.
Pass left on road courses. Pass right.
Andreas.
Pass right.
It's Andreas. It's got to be Andreas again.
Aw. Sorry, BT. I'm trying to help you out here.
That's not gonna happen.
Best road course driver.
Well, I'm the winner of all these categories in my mind.
There's a couple people we can throw in that this year.
That's a tough one.
What was it?
The roadside's been really open as far as official goes.
Probably
Nico shares everything.
Yeah, Nico.
He's a cornerstone.
Dennis has been up there, really competitive. UC.
Carlo.
I don't know. I don't know enough about what goes on in the road series week by week to have an informed opinion.
Whoa. Get your beers out, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mr. James Swinbanks!
Jimmy!
How is everybody?
Swinbanks, we are doing awards right now. Who is the IndyCar road racer of the year from iRacing?
How about you ask the guy who writes for In Racing News also?
Oh yeah, Judson can tell you.
Wait. In Racing News, what's that?
Oh.
Never heard of him.
Snap.
Ouch. Go ahead, Jim.
It'd be Nico Brandt for sure. It'd be Nico Brandt, easy. That guy's dominated Indy road racing for as long as I can remember.
Yep, I have to agree. Nico Brandt, 4th straight overall championship last season, 5th career championship. Though
by a point.
Yeah, but a point is a point.
But he still won,
which was amazing.
He still got it. Yeah, he still got it, which was pretty incredible.
Carlo though, he's right there. He is right there.
Ricardo Chiavone as well.
Okay. I think Nico's got to win though. I mean, it can't be anybody but Nico.
Until somebody knocks him off the top, I think you got to continue to have it be Nico.
Yeah.
Also for what he does for the community.
You're gonna make me run official next season just so I can beat him.
Yep.
Challenge accepted.
Okay, let's do something 16th Street League related.
Let's do something else before that. Most
go ahead.
surprising performance in top level competition. So
that was exactly what I was going to ask about for the 16th Street League.
Okay, we'll do that for 16th Street in a moment, but I'm talking right now Pro Series WCS.
That's a tough one.
A lot to cover.
Because, I mean, you've got, for example, Stephen Michaels here, amazing performance in the Road WCS. You have Hugo Louise's inability to battle with Hutu in the mid-season. You had Gregor Hutu just dominating again in the mid-season. You had Hudson, beating Alfala in the NASCAR WCS. You got Chris Overland from, I wouldn't say nowhere, but Chris Overland dominating now the NASCAR Pro Series. And you've got stories up and down all the way through that. And Richie Stanaway, for example, surprising how he wasn't able to make any impact in WCS at all.
I'd say it's got something to do with the fact that he couldn't make turn 1 in the first race.
Yeah.
I think
that just make you give up after a while. I think you're just like, well, that's what's going to keep happening. Why bother?
For me, one of the biggest surprises of the whole year was Michael Conti not qualifying at Daytona and missing the race.
Yeah.
That was huge.
You've got Luke McLean in the same vein, who missed his technically home track at Phillip Island. On the Road WCS, and I think
he missed a lot of the season, didn't he?
No, Luke McLean, I mean, up until that point, he was having a really good season once again, and Phillip Island was one of those tracks that McLean had actually got pretty much onto the podium every time he'd been there. It was one of his best tracks. And the same with Sebring, he'd actually been on the podium every time he'd been there, and he had a horrible race there. So, I mean, McLean, for me, that was my qualifying surprise of the year. As far as Road WCS went when he commentated it, is he somehow just failed to miss the cut. Failed to hit the cut, and didn't qualify, which was shocking. But you're right, Michael Conti at Daytona was huge. But then you can almost argue that, Hudson beating Alfaro over the course of the season, and the manner in which it occurred, you've got to give Hudson a bit of a nod there as well.
They fought down to the line, didn't they?
Pardon?
The championship came down to the line right at the end, correct? Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, to be fair, no one could really actually watch the final race because it was on buffer. However, apparently that's what actually happened. So, any thoughts? Are we going to vote or anything, or are we just going to move on?
Someone's got to vote.
I will. Actually, I'd agree with the Conti one, because that was huge.
That really set the course for his season after, he finished second in points the year before, and then, whoops.
Yep.
And I think it also helped to put some changes into place for not only the qualifying procedures to get into the race, but for the series as a whole. Because now we have 40 DWC drivers locked in on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And it didn't used to be that way.
No, it didn't. So I think you are right. I mean, biggest surprise, I agree, Michael Conti.
There we have it.
16th Street League. Gone.
Biggest surprise so far in the 16th Street League?
Well, for anybody that didn't know about him before, it has to be Matt Cook, surely.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Cook is the 2013 version of Dave Johnson in 2012.
Wait, I had a version in 2012?
No, in the way of it was a launching pad to complete validity. There was naysayers beforehand, and after that season, you couldn't say, anything.
Wait, I can't question Judson now?
No.
Yeah, people have been questioning me all the time. I didn't know anything had changed.
Oh, shut up. Hey, I
remember one of the first times I saw Judson on track, I was like, what is this asshole doing?
Do you remember what race that was by chance?
Everyone from 2012.
Okay. Most surprising thing.
But I didn't know you then, Dave.
You got to give me some examples, man. I want to hear this.
I don't know. I always knew you as being like a crazy like swerving, blocking, just kind of douchebaggy driver. I'll be that's my fully honest
and
opinion.
Nothing's changed, right?
And then I got to know you, and I was like, oh, Dave's a really cool guy. Still a douchebaggy blocking crash driver.
You're a crash driver.
Hey, you know what? I'm aggressive, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not changing the way I drive. People don't like it. They can go crash themselves into a wall.
Right. Okay.
For me, I'm gonna go with Eric Davis, sitting P6 overall in points right now. Eric is, I mean, he's definitely not a bad driver, but it's
tied for P6.
Tied for P6 with Ryan Murray. He's had a really, really solid performance so far. He's very consistent on both the road courses and the ovals, I think.
My surprise is the absolute competitiveness that we've had in this series overall. 6 different teams represented in the top 6. What was it, Richmond? My God.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that in itself, I think, is, you know, the surprise. I mean, yes, we've not got Young O, and Young arguably could be leading the championship, but at the same time, as far as the series goes, it has been stupidly competitive.
Wait.
That's what's been so good about it too.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been just watching it from afar, and it's been hugely entertaining just to watch from a spectator perspective.
Are you guys saying that it's not about the setups? Because that's just crazy talk.
Well, you know,
it's not about the setups.
And I mean, let's put it this way: you're having people who are testing. They are testing an absolute ton for one race a week. And
I think it speaks a lot of the prestige of the championship itself. You have
exactly.
Look at Matt. You know, I mean, he's in practice right now, and it just means a lot to win the championship. It's a very coveted league championship, and I think that's great for the league itself to have so many guys really want to win it.
Yeah, I agree.
The guy talking it up has also won the title before, so take that into account.
Yeah, true.
That was so many years ago.
Let's be honest, the biggest surprise must be that people actually practice for something, because I thought you just do your practice in the transfer race.
Wait, that's not where you're supposed to practice?
I did that.
That worked for me the first couple weeks.
I know.
Oh, no wonder I did so badly at Homestead.
I ran out of transfer races. That's been my problem.
Final thing. iRacing fail. No, okay. IndyCar fail of the year. Doesn't have to. Yeah, IndyCar fail of the year.
Kansas
iRacing
apron.
or real world?
In sim racing. This is sim racing only. This.
Kansas, its entirety, the apron, lack of passing, the incidents, the forum drama, just Kansas in general.
The apron.
I'm gonna have to say Brian Simpson, Phoenix, 16th Street. I might be biased.
That is very specific, Mr. Chin.
For anyone that saw the race, they'll know why.
Wait, Phoenix or Richmond?
Phoenix.
What happened there?
You haven't seen this?
No.
Oh, go back and look at the broadcast and
go watch the broadcast.
You'll find out. It's a great race. Otherwise, other than that one incident, but
I think that one involved a certain car spearing left and then right and then left and then taking out several drivers.
Including several teammates.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm having to open another beer, for Christ's sake. Figure it out.
You're drinking beer? When is that like a new thing with you?
Yeah, my boss bought it for me.
Oh,
you got a case of Bud, and now
it's just beer when it's free. I got you.
Yeah.
I thought you said you were going to hand them out to girls.
Well, Japanese girls, remember.
Will talks a big game about like him being a player or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't see it in Indy. I'm sorry.
Nah.
Well, you know.
You had your chance with that girl in the Jim Beam. And
she was fucking drunk!
Well,
off her face drunk!
So were you!
Yeah.
You're handing out shots in the street.
Oh, you mean that woman? I mean, that woman, to be fair, I'd feel bad for Scott Manifold if I was to be banging some random chick in his back garden.
It wasn't his backyard. It was the it was the abandoned property next door.
Fantastic.
Classy.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah. Welcome to
if
America.
Will Vincent is anything, he's classy.
Indeed.
Should have gone to the snake pit.
Should we leave it there, kids?
Yep.
Dave, do you want to do the honors?
I think we did pretty good this week. 2 hours. We crashed once, but it was at the beginning and we rebounded.
Well, I think we crashed on the award segment, to be fair.
Yeah, it kind of ran out of steam, but we didn't go off the tracks, we just stopped.
Yeah, and with the joys of editing, then it's going to be very easy to just edit down all the shit as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for watching the Wil and Dave show. Extra time, overtime, overdrive,
overland,
or whatever we refer to it as. Glad you could be here. Hope you had some fun. I know I did. Will, did you have some fun?
Yeah, just a bit.
Okay, Jim, did you have fun? No answer. John, did you have fun?
Absolutely.
Wow, this is going horrible. We better get out of here before I make this show even worse. So we'll see you next time, kids, as Will likes to say.
Yep, don't forget, kids, it is at Wil and Dave Show on Twitter, facebook.com/Wil and Dave, hashtag Wil and Dave on Twitter as well. We're available on iTunes every single week. Peace out, fuckers. Merry Christmas.
Of all my podcasts, this one was the most recent.